think we're on the internet. Hello, internet. This is The Game, brought to you by Dungeon Studios. I am your host, Grum, the grumpiest of the old man Merwins, joined, as always, with a person who is not a Doctor of Chaos or a Doctor of Doom, but is in fact the keeper of the Cthulhu, Dr.Pletorius.
Hey, thank you. Good to see you. Good to hear everybody tonight.
Hey, wonderful. We are also joined with us. Yes, I can't talk today. Joined with a spy, but I love it. I made it about 8 seconds before I screwed something up. Joined tonight a special guest, the host, creator, and mind behind Goblets and Warlocks, Jugan. Jugan, say hi to the internet.
Hello, internet. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing tonight?
Well, they'd be better if they weren't listening to us, because this has been a train wreck so far. I keep forgetting that the music settings don't carry over between screens. I think I let you guys talk on the intro part of the stream without the music playing for about 30 seconds before I figured that out. And I clearly didn't remember how to start this shit up when we got back in. So, all right, we're good.
We made it.
Yeah, we're good so far. We'll see how it goes.
Well, also, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah, exactly. But I think maybe I don't have to turn the music. I've been trying to hand fade the music this whole time, but I think it's set up on the loop that it just stops on its own, so I can stop messing around with it. That'd be nice. Anyways, like I said, we are The Game, a special stream on Sunday. Gives us a chance to talk to a guest.
I guess I have to put it out there that, Merwin always picks on me for all my discords that I'm friends with and frequent. And that's actually how I came across Jugan. I don't, Merwin considers me a troll. I consider myself a good troll. And I have to say, when I got to Goblins and Warlocks, there's very specific rules. I picked my role. I'm still, feeling out, but I really like the way it's set up and everything. And I just felt, I saw so many games going on and different DMs DMing and there's Twitch streams going on. And immediately I said I have to invite him on the game, because this is somebody really doing it. Merwin, we're always talking about we can't even get test players, right? So that's how this came about and why you're with us tonight. So when it says intro the guest, I just wanted to say thank you for letting me in and checking everything out. And it's been really cool for me, so thank you. That's first of all. Sorry, I get so excited to have you on with us.
Well, Doc, let me clarify. Yeah, no, I'm glad to have you here. And Doc, let me clarify, I don't make fun of you as far as you know about these things. And I appreciate your network of people, trolls, and spies. I'm a big fan of it. So, like we always do, as I was explaining before...
We lost you.
Did you?
You're fading out, Merwin, so you know.
Am I moving around in front of the mic like a dummy? Is that why?
Yeah, I think we lost you regionally. Yeah. You're much better. Thank you.
Back now? Okay. I was leaning away. I got to work on my setup. As I was about to say, though... we're happy to have friends and people on. Anyways, I watched some of your stuff. I look forward to talking to you. So what we normally do on the show, is Doc and I have done, is we go through our nerd cred, kind of your origin story as a gamer. And I'm looking forward to hearing yours. But before we do, rules are rules, and shameless plugs must be done. So we're going to burn through these real quick, Jugan, but you will get a chance at the end to plug yourself, which you may or may not be doing while we talk. I don't know. Anyways, thanks for listening, everybody out there. I just want to let you guys know. Please check out our website, dungeonstudios.co. We have adventures. We have the Underground Chronicle. We have a book that went up from Doc last week. Doc, how is the Monsters of the Map doing?
Map Monsters. We had some sales, so I'm kind of pumped about it. Yeah.
Nice.
Just to have some map monsters from ancient explorers from the old age of exploration. But the Dungeon Studios Kickstarter was fully funded too, so that's great news. And we also reached one of our goals where we're going to have some encounters that go out with the set as well for those people that backed us. So thank you, those backers out there as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, it is officially over. Well, at least the Kickstarter's over. So thanks again, like Doc said, for everybody who supported us. 2 stretch goals we got. We got the cookbook. We got the encounter pack. And now all that has to happen is we just have to write everything because we were slacking off for the last 9 months. But don't worry. Don't worry, we probably will start sometime the day before it's due to go out. So don't worry about it, guys. You'll get it. We thank you for funding us. Definitely on the level.
So teasing. He's so teasing.
Yeah, no, we're hard at work at it, and we cannot thank you guys enough for all that you have done. And let's take a little moment to shout internally. As you said, finding playtesters and people to review things is always a challenge. So I wanted to thank our people in-house that have come along and from our outside games who have chipped in to help playtest modules, give feedback, mostly tell me that I'm terrible and I use all the words. Perfectly fine. But we are getting a great product out to you guys, I hope. But I'm, unrepentant.
We've got two more DMs. We got two more DMs this week to step up, volunteer to DM for us for test plays. So that's great because we need some DM input as well. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. And I know we harp on getting players in here to play test stuff. New people. Your experience is valuable. Your starting point, whether it's day one DM or a newbie player, can be of value to us. In fact, I would not mind having newer DMs come in. You can run some of our content and kind of cut your teeth with people in a live game as a DM, and then kind of use that to springboard you into your own successful home game. So, otherwise, future projects. I want to bring up a couple of things we are working feverishly on. Fables of the Forgotten. Our cast is set. The scripts are being written. I've written some of them, kind of ish.
There are some good scripts I've read.
The stories are good. Yeah, the adaptations are going well.
Really good.
Yeah, so we also brought in some new writers, and we got a bunch of things in the works for all of our fans, all three of you out there on the internet. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sticking with us, and thank you for being here. Outside of that, just a reminder, like, share, subscribe. Send this video to your friends if you're able to listen to us live. Awesome. If you check us out on your favorite podcasting apps, go ahead and hit that heart. Give us a download. Send it to some other people. I think we're up to like 80 or 90 just from Spotify, Anchor, if I remember correctly. I might have that wrong. But it's been going up and up every week, and that's the big thing, which is consistency. One of the things you're going to actually looking forward to talking to you about, I was checking out your channel, looking at some of your stats, and I have some questions. So please take a moment during the shameless plug to give yourself one. Tell everyone what you do, where to find you, and let's get into it.
All right, well, thank you for having me on the show once again. Thanks for popping my cherry for a first ever podcast ever, and thank you for having me. My name is Jugan. It's my gamer tag I came up with, I don't know how many years ago for Xbox Live when you had me to plug in a gamer tag. And old Magic the Gathering people maybe would recognize the name. It was Jugan the Rising Star, an ancient green dragon. That's where I got the name from.
Really? It's from Kamigawa Block.
Yep.
6-mana dragon. Awesome effects.
I knew
green player. I'm a green player for life. I will tell you really quick, not to cut into your shameless plug and nerd cred time, but the thing that hooked me more than anything else was looking at the cards the first time. An alpha pack when I was in high school in '93, and I saw the Crawlworm, the original dark, dusky, sexy, dragony art that was, and I was hooked forever at that point. So, in fact, I actually have I have somewhere. Where do I have it? I have some old cards that I keep around that are some of my favorites, all green. So, but I don't want to get into any more of your time. So, where can people find you, and what are you doing right now on the interwebs?
Currently, I have a YouTube called Goblets and Warlocks. It used to be. I started out. We'll go in that list. So you can find me on Goblets and Warlocks on YouTube, and currently I live stream on Twitch. I have viewer rewards for Twitch. If you follow for the first time during the stream, you give a D4 to any player. I guess just to say I stream D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. But people can come in and affect the stream and follows, skip the subs, review rewards, and I also have sound bites where you can make us take a 19-second dance break if you choose to give us 500 bits for it. So, but yeah, it's always fun. It's great. We try to interact with the fans as much as possible, and that's where you can find us. I stream every Monday night until I have to go to nights because I am in the Navy, which are making me go to nights in February. So all my streams will be bi-weekly by then. I currently running 4 campaigns. The first and last Monday is Locals of Icewind Dale, which is the Icewind Dale campaign, the official D&D campaign from Wizards of the Coast. Middle Mondays is my homebrew campaign called Order the Goblet. We're on episode 5 coming up. No, 6 coming up. I think it's episode 6 tomorrow night, which is why we're doing a special event for... They're doing this on Sunday because I told them I run my games on Mondays. I can't record on Mondays for this.
Well, it's apparent that Monday is the night for people because some of our other collaborators and friends and future guests, they record on Mondays. We did our podcast on Monday. So it seems to be the day to do the things, which I think is a testament to the fact that none of us watch sports. So,
I watch sports all the time. I love the NFL. But, Monday is the best day for all the players. So it's not only me juggling the schedule, it's also the players juggling the schedule. That's hence why I have 2 separate campaigns on Mondays, because they can't switch off on Mondays. And then every bi-weekly on Saturdays, which is coming back this Saturday, is my first ever D&D campaign and stream. The start is going on 2 years old now. Descending into earnest. And then on February 4th is the new Dragonlance campaign from an official that just came out on the 3rd of February. Got mostly all-female cast for that. Because mostly that's everybody who applied for it. And that'll be starting up too. So I just got my overlays in. We're still finalizing the art and for my contacts for players in the game. Amazing! I have amazing people in my Discord for art. Speaking of, if you're not a member of my Discord, you can always join my Discord. We do giveaways every month. Right now, one of my staff members is giving away a set of dice. I forgot it was a Hobbitshire bag.
Yeah, that's the coolest thing in the world. Yes.
Yeah. So,
yes, it's a nice bag, and it rolls up. Oh, it's so cool looking. Yeah, I definitely entered.
Well, hey, you see, you're scamming for the freebies. I see what Doc's doing. He's out there cruising for bits for himself. I'm just trying to help the podcast out and get free stuff for myself.
No, because I can't take it. I just want to win, and I say I can't take it anyway. It's just contest.
You might get in if you want to enter. It's fine.
Hey, it's good. You are an incredibly busy person when it comes to all this stuff. So I'm curious then. Moving into the nerd cred part of it. So where did your journey as a nerd begin? How did you get into all this, and how did you get so busy?
Well, I'm going to bring in my age now, so I'll be turning 40 in March. I'm not shy about it.
You got a baby.
You're a wee lad.
You're a wee baby.
Wee lad. So basically, I got into Magic middle school. Magic the Gathering. That's pretty much where my nerd cred was. Some kid brought some of these cards. I was like, "What are these?" And these Magic the Gathering. So basically, he had a deck, just split it in half, and just kind of played there. And I got put into that for years. Towards the end of my high school stint of Magic the Gathering, I got you know how it is. It's like the little kids that has their parents that buys them all the best cards, whatever. And you're sitting across the table and it's like 10-year-olds kicking your butt because you can't afford the cards that he has and all that stuff.
I could see that happening. Yeah. I could see that. I mean, I don't know what that is.
I was just working at Food Line, going to school and all this. I was like, I can't afford these. So I basically quit that because of that. And, I'm a very competitive person. Might not show it, but when I get beat by like a 5, 8-year-old on the other side of the table, it really puts it in perspective. It's like, I'm gonna have to quit this. And then, when I was stationed, I'm in the Navy too, by the way. So I've been in the Navy 15 years. So when I was stationed,
thank you for serving, by the way. Thank you for serving, man.
Thank you for your support, because I never know where to say that when people do say that. So I came up, thank you for your support. So, but yeah. Hey, it's a way to feel life. I consider that I failed at life and I joined the military. But yeah, I got tired of working dead in jobs, but that's a whole other story. That's not part of nerd cred. But when I was in Okinawa, Japan, I got bored and I went to one of their magic shops and I picked up a bunch of Japanese cards and stuff and magic gathering in Japanese language, I guess I should say. That's how I got back into magic there for the longest time. But when I first ever played D&D, it was back in high school, and I knew of D&D. I didn't know what it was all about or anything really. And then this one kid, he had the books and stuff for lunch, and I don't know what edition it was. I think it was either second or third edition at the time, where you could play an ogre. Ogre was open to a race. Now I wanted to play an ogre. He's a tall guy with battle axe. And what I can remember of the campaign they were playing, we played every day for 30 minutes during lunch. And we were in some town that was overwhelmed by zombies. Actually, when we first started, there was 3 of us. 2 of us went down, and he gave us an option, one tunnel to the left, one tunnel to the right. Me and the other guy went down the one tunnel to the left, and he went to the one to the right by himself, and the thing collapsed and killed his character right.
Oh, that's classic 80s Dungeons and Dragons right there.
I was thinking too. I think when you said ogre, and then I'm thinking, when were we able to play an ogre? And then I was thinking, this sounds like 2nd edition homebrew, something out of Dragon magazine.
No, actually, it could have been if it was official. It could have been Dragonlance, because there was something was put out for the Urda, which were the original ogres before they were corrupted. So there were rules on playing those. So it could have been that. Or it could have been homebrew.
All right, that sounds great. This is a great story. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was in the book. I could play it, and I was like, of course, when he first approached me from the place, like, can I be a dragon? He's like, you got to be a real reason. Give me a real reason to be a dragon. I was like, it's my last dying wish to be a dragon.
So wait, I got to stop for a second. So you were playing Dungeons and Dragons in the cafeteria in high school?
It was more like the hallway of the cafeteria. That was like the only place kind of secluded off to the side where we would be
get away from everybody a little bit.
Yeah. We were the group that nobody wanted to come talk to us. But
I don't even think we could even do that when I was in school in the 80s. You couldn't even do that. You wouldn't even do that in the hallway. It was relegated to the club, and even then people were throwing eggs at the windows. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, we eventually went to some town that was overwhelmed by zombies, and then we ended up saving a screaming little girl that would not stop screaming. And the biggest thing I remember, we got to the roof, and this girl would not stop screaming, so collectively we decided to just chuck the girl off the roof into the zombie horde.
Yep.
Nice.
God, I miss the 80s.
And for some reason I decided to jump off the roof, and I rolled badly and broke my leg. And that's about much as I remember of it. Well, like 30 minutes every day for lunch for a year. Well, a whole lot of stuff to cover. But that was my very first taste of D&D.
Great.
Nice.
Great.
Then after I joined the Navy, my very first command, there's these guys who was in the Liberty Center right outside the ship, and the Star Wars version of D&D they were playing. So I played that, and I got my first taste of, like, actually running a few sessions or something.
Being a game master.
Yeah, I was like, they told me, it's like, I gotta go to watch, so you can take over and run, This is where I learned, like, if you watch my videos now, this is where I learned the high and low method. If they roll one of those, like, in-between rolls, you, like, I don't know if that was succeed or not. And I was like, all right, give me a high or low. If they wanted to just off the cuff, high or low, let's see if it works, I roll a D100, they say high, it works, whatever. And then I played that. And then when I got to my last command in Washington State, and some coworkers, they played D&D, and I was like, I haven't played that in years. I want to play that. And so I went over to their house. I built this red-haired paladin, which I had to make her beautiful and everything because I'm a dude. Crazy backstory. We're playing Descendant of Avernus, which is now, if you go watch that stream now. Flick, she is in my game. She is now playing that character because that game I was playing abruptly ended, and I was going to bring them into an NPC to finish out her story because that was my first character back, and I got really invested in her story. And I was going to bring her as an NPC, but I discovered early on in the games I was running an NPC off a full-fledged character sheet was really hard for combat and stuff. And if Flick, she really wanted to come in and play, I was like, well, I have this character I was going to bring in the NPC. She was my first character back in the D&D. If you want to take her over, that'd be great. And She said yes, and now she's playing that character. It's kind of weird being on the other side of the game screen, somebody playing your character that you designed to play.
I have a lot of questions for you.
Oh gosh.
Interesting.
I did have my first player to death for Asami RPG. I was in the Rise of Duality. Played every month, or they play every Friday, and he's still West Coast. And I was playing Craven and Angel, and or Asmar Monk. And since I moved back to East Coast, it was really hard to play in his games because he starts 7 o'clock his time, but it's already like 11 o'clock my time.
Right. That West Coast drag never seems to work. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was not like. It was basically I was going to end up having to quit or step away for a while. And that night, because I had to work the next day, I have to get up at 3 a.m. to go for Navy for my current place. And so we wouldn't get done till like almost like 2 o'clock at night my time. And it just so happened my character died at night, and it kind of fits itself. So that was my first player to character death, and I always envisioned Craven coming into Order of the Goblet. Now he came in as an angel because he's already dead. Now he's tied into the lore of my homebrew story on Monday nights now.
So how'd you make the jump from home games and squeezing everything in with your time in the Navy and whatnot to streaming the games online? How'd that happen?
Yeah, and starting a Discord for all these people. Yeah.
So I originally started out, I went by my original Twitch name, YouTube name was Sitfang Gaming, because I played this game called Rainbow Six Siege from day one since it first came out.
Is that a video game? I'm not familiar.
Yeah, it's a first-person shooter.
Yep.
Okay.
First-person shooter. I wasn't seeing as much growth. It's a very saturated game on Twitch. It's hard to be discovered. I was making videos, like, putting all my time in videos on YouTube and everything. Wasn't seeing much traction. And then the game, like the people in the community, I picked it back up because it came out with The Undertaker and Becky Lynch, huge wrestling fan. The skins for one of the characters. So I could start playing it the other night, but the community was so toxic in there. It's like, if you didn't get win a 1v1, they basically curse you out and all that stuff. They were saying ungodly names when I was streaming. So I basically just gave up streaming. I pretty much gave up the game altogether. Then, if y'all can see right now, I started getting into, when I got back into D&D, I started getting into painting miniatures.
Okay.
I can see them. Those are awesome.
Yeah. Well, these were my very first miniatures I really started painting. And I started streaming them, or actually I didn't start streaming them, I started recording them for YouTube. And some of them are still up on my YouTube where you can go and watch them paint them. Then I got the notion. There's a YouTuber called Merchant. I don't know if you know him. He's very popular or whatever. And he had Runaway Robot, another professional DM.
Okay.
Come in and run his Descent into Furnace, and I was watching his overlays and everything. I really loved, and then that's when I got the idea to start streaming D&D.
Oh, yeah, I see this, I can do this. I see this overlay, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Well, I did my research first. I was like, all right, I don't want to jump into the same situation I was with Rainbow Six Siege, where it's an oversaturated game. I want to see how many people actually watching streams and everything. And then that's when I discovered him. That's also when I discovered Critical Role. Of course, I watched all the campaign 2. I'm watching currently campaign 3. I was watching last Thursdays before we jumped into this call for the podcast. And I was looking at how they do stuff. I was like, I really love that and all that. And now I started getting on Twitch and watching other D&D streams, and I saw stream after stream after stream with these virtual tabletops, right? Everybody has these different, everybody's doing the same thing. And there's not many like Critical Role or anybody doing astrophysical miniatures and stuff. And I'm already painting miniatures. I'm collecting them for the D&D game I'm playing in.
Right.
And because I'm getting them for the DM that's running that, so you can use them in their fights and stuff. It's like, well, I already have these. I can run a Descent into Avernus game. I already kind of know the story because I've been playing in it. And I have miniatures for it, so maybe I can stream this. Is this possible? So I'm also play Ultimate Werewolf. I don't know if y'all know anything about it. It's a social deduction game. I stream those. There's videos of those on my YouTube also of that. And that's asked Andreas and Jenny. Jenny is also a dance school. She streams some indie games and stuff. I asked them if they want to come in and play, and asked my buddy that's in the Air Force I've known for years, and that's where it started at. Started out there. I started out like wanting to make it more serious. Actually, by that time I had left Twitch because the whole thing, Twitch was dying and everybody's moving into YouTube growing and all that. And again, I started streaming on YouTube. They don't have everything set up for actual live streaming as Twitch has done really well. And eventually I just moved back to Twitch where I can actually earn money to put back into the game. This game I love so much and love putting a show for it, because buying miniatures and buying all the stuff I need is very expensive. But at least on Twitch I can earn some money and stuff. So
so you got a ton of content out there, and like I said, I got to slow you down because you're throwing out answers in your explanation of things I wanted to ask you about how you got your players and different stuff. So. Yeah. But no, that's from there to here. That's what we kind of look for. So I appreciate you laying out the nerd cred. And now it's a time for one of my favorite segments. It's the shit that I forgot. So we like to go through and just cover the shit we forgot from the last time. Doc, before I get into my rant, do you have anything that you wanted to throw in there from our last conversation?
Oh no, I really didn't forget anything last time around. I was really under shock being with the guys last week. They were hilarious. That's all I can say.
All right. Well, the thing that I forgot, because I have the brain of a goldfish smoking crack, there were some things about our conversation regarding the OGL and Wizards and different things that I didn't get into. We were trying to be sensitive to Mike and Jeremy's schedule because they're busy. So to hell with those two. But anyways. One of the things I didn't get to put in there was my final thoughts about, why Wizards killed off, is killing and has been killing off Magic, and my thoughts about why I have hope. So really quick, I do think the OGL is just a continuation of their money grab, short-sighted desire to maximize profits, and frustrates me that they made choices in Magic. With rarity and whatnot, and how they've done what they've done, that have turned it from being about designing and providing stuff for a good and healthy game to pumping out stuff they can make money on. Now, their business, they got to make money. I get that, but the game made good money before, and it was designed to be. It was designed the game. Jesus, I'm struggling today. They were building the game to be a good game, not to be a cash cow. That's philosophy changed when they got bought by Hasbro. And that's what started the decline of Magic, in my opinion. Now, RPGs look like they're going the same route with the OGL thing, which is just a shameless cash grab, an IP theft attempt. They try to sneak that shit in on us. So when I was playing Magic and this stuff started happening, there were bunches of us that were trying to, get our voices heard, band together, and fight against the shit that Wizards was doing. And unfortunately, that just died a horrible death because they were still making money. And there wasn't anything we could do because there wasn't another alternative. You couldn't go play the other Magic game. Like, there's nothing that compares. There are a ton of copycat games. They're fun, but nothing holds a candle to MTG. When it comes to the RPGs, though, this is why I have hope for the whole scenario, is that there are other options, other systems, other companies, and people that are willing to stand up and fight. So in the last couple of days...
this thing's gone crazy. Couple of days.
Yeah, and and the big people are all standing up. Cobalt Press and Paizo, and telling Wizards that they can basically suck it, and it gives me hope because I think we can win that. That's the kind of thing that we can come out ahead. The community, the creators, the third parties, and these other companies, all on the same page, have enough power to actually make an impact into what's going on. If we accomplish nothing else than just proving in a court that Wizards can't steal your shit for free, and whatnot, that'll be win enough and of itself. And they seem to be doing a pretty good job of sinking their stock price and wrecking their fucking own product. So I think that's a problem that'll take care of itself in the long run. But it makes me feel good. One thing I can't complain about, that most people have stepped up, big, small, and in between, to stand up to the bullshit, and that's wonderful. So I forgot to get into that last week. Plus, with some development.
I just want to say one thing. I want to say one thing about all of this. I think since the beginning, since the inception, I think they've never known what they've had, from first edition to second edition to third edition to fourth edition to Pathfinder, and it's a new thing. And once again, now that it's grown so technologically big, again, it's a new thing, and it's going to explode again. That's what's going to happen, as it does every time.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like, that's the benefit of the RPG community versus like when it happened with Magic the last couple of times, is that you have people that are going to fill that void, and they're it's going to drive people into it. And like I said, with Magic, it's not the kind of thing that would really work. You can't get another clone of it, basically. So that was what gave them the monopoly on it. But
I don't want to turn that into the show. But
no, not at all. But that's the shit that I forgot for last week, was just to kind of get into why we couldn't save Magic and what they did to the community back in the day, and then why I do think there's hope for RPGs. So with that being said, let us move into our week in gaming, things that we've got going on. I had my home game, Doc. You had a couple play tests and things going on this week.
I had 2 games.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I had.
Well, hang on. Since we have a guest, let's be fair to him. So, Jugan, obviously you stream a bunch of different things. I see that you have different games on different weeks. So, I was watching the DM Confessional video about one of your campaigns, and I was wondering, like we normally do, we usually talk about our week in gaming. So, do you have anything big that's not a spoiler for your channel that came up for you this last week when you were playing your games?
Yes, actually it was, and I was not expecting it to happen like this soon. Well, they still actually trying to figure it out. So Little Bones 309, she's a famous indie streamer. I asked her if she wanted to be in my Order of Development campaign. She said yes. And she's playing an ASMR, which is very... So my homebrew campaign is... I really... Like, I love Brendan Mulligan, one of the famous D&D, when he did Calamity, Flying City. When that aired, I was already developing my own custom campaign, and I created a Ventus, which is a flying city. Oh, great! Now I got to tweak it so I don't feel like I'm copying him. I'm already doing this first, Brendan Mulligan, if you ever hear this. Anyway, so basically, the backstory is that there's an angel in Nala. She died to save the city, and her basically what will eventually come out probably. I think I've already said it in the opening, but with her death is what caused the city to leave Faerun, because when I stepped in the homebrew, I'm going down a rabbit hole. So when I step in the homebrew,
no, you're getting there.
Yeah, I didn't want to I want to dip my toes in homebrew, so I didn't want to create a whole world. So I decided to start small, start with like a city, and I didn't want to create a whole new world. So I was like, maybe this city's flying and left the world of Faerun like 500 years ago because they got played by all these stuff. So, well, Little Bones, she created an ASMR, which I kind of talked with her. Is like, how would you feel if your ASMR was tied to a Nala in some way? And when they finally made it to Aventus this past Monday, I described that her ASMR, or like her radiant soul form, takes over as she's flying over the temple of Anala. And then when they landed into Ventus, I told her, like, you feel like this draw to a certain area of the city, and she kept getting closer. As she kept getting closer, her hair turned to blue again, because her character, this is actually her miniature right here. This is her miniature. Yep. And then I got her radiant soul. I got to paint. So
I remember listening to the start. I think I was listening to this episode where she's like, "My hair is blue, but it's totally fine now. We're all good now. We should just never talk about this again. Everything's good now."
And then towards the end of the episode, as she kept going closer and closer, and then as she started getting closer, her body was glowing. And then everybody started kneeling to her, and I teased a prophecy that nobody knew about. And as soon as she stepped on the steps of the temple of Anala, that's ultimately they're going to find out that's where her final resting place is. That's where her body lies. As soon as she stepped on the steps, she had actual wings pop out of her back. And that's pretty much where I cut the episode on the cliffhanger because I didn't want to get too close or get closer to the end of the episode. But that's what happened this past week, and we're going to continue that tomorrow night.
It's great. It's great. It's great. It's there's nothing more fun than when you have the little bit of lore payoff that you've built in, and you're waiting for it, and you know it's coming, and then they walk right into it, and they're like, "Oh, that's what's going on."
And to not talk about it is the key.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
No, I have similar things. I'll let Doc finish the section, so I'll go next. I have a similar thing. So my homebrew, we're currently playing in Tales of the Northern Province. It's homebrew world in game. And I have stuff like that. One of the characters has had a couple of experiences. He is a warforged, which I hadn't had in my setting before. And I'm like, well, pitch me some ideas for characters when we started the campaign, and I let him make one. So he's got a bit of that hidden backstory stuff that we keep uncovering. So in the last few sessions, amongst the many things that have happened, were he found out early on that attempts to he's covered in runes and then hidden by an illusion, so people have been trying to figure that out for a while, but somebody realized along the way that some of the rune work on him was necromancy, and that he might be an undead spirit trapped in this metal form. And when he found that out the first time, he shut down, and then more recently they were nearly killed in a flooded cavern, and
so it's getting more suspicious. That would make it more suspicious.
They're trying to revive him because everybody else is he's one of the people that's out of unconscious. So they start messing around with him. Like, well, he's not dead yet, so we can hear us. It's like you're already dead, you can't die. Like saying shit like that to him. So it triggered the second level of his defense mode. So he wakes up. And then goes into like killbot mode and blasts one of the other players as they're trying to get out of the water. Almost kills him. So we're back in the city, and they're slowly uncovering a plot while trying to figure out what he's got going on. And they have a potential patron. They have people in this tower that are trying to help him out, but everybody's really interested in him. And every time something gets unlocked, they're like, wait a second. Well, but if this person knows that, then that person might know this, and that means that they're doing this on purpose. And I just sit back and I just listen to the conspiracy theories for 30 minutes, and I love that shit. So that's what's going on in my game is they're tracking down people that are paying people to report on when they find bodies, and then they're stealing them for some nefarious purpose, and they're not sure if their potential patron either knows about it, is in on it, is really sending them to stop it, or something else. And that's where we kind of left off. They found their way into the sewers through one of these hidden body chutes where they've been dumping people, and now they're trying to figure out exactly what's going on. So, but yeah, that's the best shit when you run into that. Like, you can leave on a cliffhanger, you get that hidden lore stuff. So that's where I'm at in my game. I don't want to give anything else away because I have a few players that listen to this. Doc?
All right, so we had the Chronic Explorers met right after our last broadcast. They went into the Cave of the Blind God in pursuit of the Red Wizard. They still have not found the Red Wizard yet, and they kind of snuck in with these invisiberries and gotten past the troglodytes.
Invisiberries?
Invisiberries. And then really what ended up happening was I had already told that story where they had met the troglodytes and had kind of killed some of them, and they kind of met the rest of the troglodytes in combat, and the troglodytes also brought out a cave troll they had as a guard, and it was sort of an all-out battle night for them. But the funny thing was we had a member late, so I got to do some more testing with my Chronic Explorers. So I want to thank them. They helped do a little more testing of the Misty Tower. Nice. Which then leads me to my other game this week, which was another test or finale of Misty Tower again. And I just really, really, I have a soft spot for that adventure. The best part about it is keys and magical doorways. I've been thinking about this. Every module has a certain thing that after you do it, you have an impression how the players are going to respond or react to it. Mm-hmm. Well, with the keys in the doorways. God, you were talking about, like they made their own thing, their own suspense or their own thing. They start, God, they will talk forever about which key to use, what door. And it's like, how long do you wait to tell them? Just use a key already. Come on, man.
I mean, as I put in the notes for my modules more and more, as soon as they stop having fun doing it, and it starts to feel like it's dragging, like when fun goes to frustrating, that's when you step in. But if they're having a good time with it, I don't even do shit.
They are having a great time with it. But it's funny because most of the time is them talking about which key, when, where, and it's great hearing them do their logic debates over which key to use for which door and what came with that. And it's all, it's great. I love it. It's the same thing you're talking about, just is a different way, just different effect, I guess.
Well, with all this talk of keys, I'm gonna take a moment to snatch one of them to open up the door for a visit to the doctor's office. Doc, what do you got for us this week?
Well, this one actually is for Jugan.
Okay.
And what I went into deep was goblets, and wanted to look deep into the magic of goblets and where goblets be listed for, in the real esoteric world of magic.
So now, goblets like the Holy Grail goblets, or goblets?
I was going to say that of course is the first thing that comes up is
that.
Of course,
so I can't wait till we get to have video when we figure out how to run shit well enough to be allowed to have cameras on. Because hold that back up again, Jugan. We can see Jugan. You guys can't. I apologize.
Jugan, say what it
That's
is.
That's a badass fucking mug or goblet you have there, sir. Well done. Yeah. Well done.
Well, this is what I originally started out stream with, and one of my one of my staff members in my Discord sent me this as a.
I actually have the smaller goblet you have there. I have that one. It was my best man's gift for my friend's wedding. So very nice.
Yes, I have one similar to that. My original crew gave me back in the '90s. It's one of the only things I kept. A nice goblet with a dragon.
Well, let's stop boring people with things we're looking at that they can't see, Doc. You get in the goblets, entertain Jugan. I'll be right back in 30 seconds. But you start. Right, I'll catch up.
All right. So again, Merwin was bringing up the Holy Grail, and that, of course, Jugan, you can chime in whenever you feel like you want to talk about something I'm discussing here. But of course, the Holy Grail is one of the most famous goblets there is in esoteric magic. But the one thing I did find, which I thought was really interesting about the goblet, is the cup and balls magic trick, which was originally used with a goblet, is one of the oldest known magic tricks known to man, and it started in 3 BC, which is really intense to think about that. And that trick is still being performed today, and it's actually being performed by Penn and Teller, and they've actually changed it now because you can imagine it was 3 cups, and there's a ball under the cup, and you move around the cups, and you try to decide where the ball is. Well, Penn and Teller have expanded it into more cups. I was just reading about this. I don't know it exactly. But they have 3 opaque cups and 3 transparent cups. So you can actually see the balls in some of the motions during the moving of the cups, but then they still end up under the opaque cups, and the trick is just as complicated because now you're giving people visual cues where the balls are moving, but they still don't know it. So it's kind of really neat that a trick from 3 BC that was using goblets has gone all the way to today with Penn and Teller doing a magic trick is kind of intriguing to me. The other thing that goblets really, looking into magic goblets in history or in literature, and I have to give it up to both of you guys, Magic, The Gathering, the cards, they go on and on about the different goblets that were designed, and those designs all go back to original biblical texts of descriptions of goblets that are used in different empires in history. It was really intriguing how I ended up back at Magic. Funny because I went to see about goblets and ended up back at Magic. And Jugan, you said that to me first. You said, "Oh, I was a Magic fan first," and I was like, "Oh my God!" Well, of course, that's why it's called goblets, and it's like, ta-da! So that was my research. Just the other thing, talking about the Holy Grail, they do say that there has been proof that there is a Holy Grail. You guys, either of you know about this? That it does exist?
Well, no? I know that.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Let me get back to the microphone. And really quick, I had goblet envy, so I went and got a giant stein, so I didn't feel as small. So nobody can see this but you guys, but I have a ridiculous giant thing. But anyways, enough hamming around.
Seriously.
No, yeah, no. So the Holy Grail. So you have a couple theories. So obviously there's the Da Vinci Code one where the Holy Grail is just a euphemism for the bloodline of Christ. But as far as actual cups are concerned, I believe the Holy Grail is thought to have been put into the Ark of the Covenant originally, and then the Knights Templar in the Middle Ages are said to supposedly have had it or found it. One of the more popular theories is they hid it in a church in Ireland, I believe.
Keep going. I'm gonna let you tell your tale.
Yeah, no, I think they think it's somewhere under one of these cathedrals or chapels, and I want to say it's Ireland, maybe Scotland. And that the reason the Knights Templar order was burnt out in the Middle Ages was that other people were jealous that they had the Grail and wanted to take it from them. So there's I can't remember the whole story, but there's a night where the Knights Templar there's a night where all of the raids happened in the Knights Templar, where most of them were slaughtered or went into hiding and whatnot. They were like excommunicated from the church, I believe. And the theory is that was a cover. Well, they used that as a cover to claim that they were destroyed, and then a lot of the knights went into hiding as normal people, and they took the Grail with them and passed it all over the place, and it made its way to this church. And then another one, which is interesting, is that it's actually in, I think, Nigeria. There's a crazy church that's been there for 2,000 years that I think some have traced the Holy Grail to ending up there after it went missing from the Middle East. But what do you got for me?
Yeah, actually, you're right. Both of those are legit stories. That there's so many stories that have come out about this. But I guess there's one right now where it is in Spain. Hang on a second.
I'm not familiar with the Spanish one.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure I pull up the right thing here.
Well, real quick, while he's researching it, I'd like to say thank you for giving me some kind of credit. Maybe I was going off that, but definitely was not. Mine was the name, which is interesting. The name Goblets and Warlocks. As I mentioned before, when I first decided to start streaming D&D, Merchant, he's, like I said, a very popular YouTuber that reviews games, and he started a D&D group, and he called that little official brand, like, I think it was Guild Gates or Goblins and Guild Gates, like kind of rolled off the tongue. And I was like thinking about like, well, what old timey like medieval type cups, and then goblets came, and I was like, all right, I need something that goes along with it. And Warlocks came about. Everybody thinks Warlocks from the subclass, obviously, but actually the hidden lore for Warlocks was because I use WizKids Warlock tiles for my setups because I don't have the money for like Dungeon Forge and stuff. And I was like sitting there like, all right, what would go good with goblets? And I looked over, just looking around my space, and I had the boxes of Warlock tiles. I was like, goblets and warlocks. Goblets and warlocks. I said it a couple of times. It's like, it kind of rolls right off the tongue. I like it. So that's where the origin of my name came from. So.
Nice.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, it still goes deeper. Supposedly it's in Spain, and there is even the History Channel has it documented that it is in Spain right now, in a church. But again,
so which one and why though?
Again, they're saying Ortega del Rio in the Basilica of San Andorio in the Spanish city of Leon. And it was a 3-year investigation. And they go into documentations from Egyptian parchments that date specifically to 200 BC, and then more documents that date to 100 AD in Irish times, which goes with your Irish church, hiding in the Irish church. And supposedly it like weaves through a lot of the old stories, and that this is supposedly the Grail. But what's strange about it is it's also constructed weird. It looks like two grails just sort of fused together, like, you know how,
the church looks like that?
No, the Grail. It looks like two tops.
Oh, okay.
Fused together, which is kind of interesting. And then there's also all adornments that have been added to it as it's been carried through history. So that's another reason why they've been dating these different things that have been added to it along the way. So that's kind of really, really cool. But you were talking about the Templars.
Yep.
And this is the one thing that really kind of all of a sudden this big crisscross for me and going into real magic and Baphomet.
Okay.
The name Baphomet. Where would you?
The devil.
Right. He holds up this big devil devil image to me. Right. He's holding up his devil figure.
Yeah. Baphomet is the horned goat guy that's on the Church of Satan's logo, right?
All right, but here's the thing. It actually. Oh shoot! I stretched my screen out. Hang on. It says here. Thus we see the term baptism, and it's a reference well known in a ritual of body submersion in water, more obscurely, or a sacred cup of libation. Baphomet therefore served as the head, allegedly veteran of the Templars. And they're saying that the word itself is baptism. Baphomet, right, is bathing in wisdom. It's a baptism of wisdom. And it's kind of weird that the term baptism of wisdom from the Knights Templar got turned into the name of this big, ugly thing with a goat's head. Right? I mean, it's kind of intriguing to me. That's
one of the
magical Q&A tonight.
Well, that's one of the things that we see repeated in history over and over again. Even in modern times, is either the subversion of or the elevation of one group's symbols and important things to another.
Right,
so, like, you know, the turning Saturnalia and the various pagan festivals around Christmas time into Christmas and making it a Christian holiday. When the Roman Empire switched religions. I guess it could work in. Go
ahead. Sorry.
I guess it could work in reverse, where people who are trying to demonize and make the Templar Order the enemy would morph their words and symbols into what's commonly connected to, like, the devil now, making them look like they were bad.
Right, and as I say, this is a great campaign connection too. When you think about stuff like that, and then all of a sudden, like, there's a double meaning inside something in your world that they never really expected at all. Yeah. The other thing is the cup itself, the Holy Grail. Catching the blood of Christ, it was said to have these healing properties. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about, especially in a fantasy world, you could have goblets catch blood of almost anything and have almost any kind of magical power. And I realized there were hardly any magical goblets or in D&D law either. So it's sort of, Jugan, you sparked this whole thing in me. I was like, I could make a collection of goblets, magical goblets. It's crazy.
Yeah. The person who does my overlays, when she gave me overlays, because I told her I was like, for Order the Goblet, I wanted like a really tavern feel, because I have this, how it got the Order of the Goblet. I told them it's like there's 3 rules Order of the Goblet I kind of stole from Fight Club. You do not talk about Order of the Goblet. And when she sent me the overlays, there was no goblets in the scene. It's like, hey, I want some goblets on these tables and on this bar. That's a must.
Should have had her hide them in there. Well, since we're already talking about your overlays and your channel, I want to take a quick moment to thank everyone who's listening to us on the internet or checking us out on your favorite podcast app. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let your friends know about us. Send us around. Come visit us. Join us at our website, our Discord, or on our Patreon. You can support the show, support our projects, support the fact that we're poor, and give us money. That's what we appreciate. I saw one. I don't know anything about it. The buy me a coffee page that another person has, where I think he just takes like $2 donations. I got to find out more. But if I can get people on the internet to buy me coffee, that's like $20 a week I don't have to spend. So I'm super into that. I'll have to figure that shit out there and get some stuff out there. But
I've seen lots of
I need to jump in on you that too.
Exactly. Hey, so but actually, before I get into the main topic, which the first half are. Oh God, I'm doing so good tonight. Before I get into the first half topic of the evening, I did have one other question. Since you are in the Navy, Jugan, I assume you travel around, obviously, right? So have you run into any weird D&D fantasy feeling kind of people, places, rituals? I know it's always, fascinating when you travel, and then you run into a weird structure or. People like
something you never would have seen if you hadn't been there.
Yeah. So anything inspirational D&D wise that you've seen in your travels?
Well, first off, there's a lot of weird people in the Navy, especially in those I like to call they're very butt smart but don't have any common sense. Weird people that had no business having any kind of power. But there's those people. But I've been to y'all seen Ghost Hunters, right? The popular TV show where
familiar with that show.
There's a place where I live that they go to.
Yeah, when I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan, I was a member of called Okinawa Paranormal. We did exact same thing that they did. We went to go pretty much hunt ghosts of people that help families and stuff. And I've had some weird experiences with that, which leads me which is funny because I'm currently my current in command. I won't reveal that, but whatever. Where I'm currently stationed at in the Navy is where I started out my career. And if anybody knows anything about aircraft carriers or whatever, on the very back of the ship is called the fantail. And I was standing watch one night, and I had this shadow come out from one of the spaces. Well, I was leading up. We were going through the straits. If anybody's in the Navy know what I'm talking about. When you go through the straits, it's two land bodies of land that you're going through the straits, and you have to post out sentries to stand watch and make sure nothing gets close. So I went out to my man overboard watch, and there was a sentry out back. And I knew this person because I kind of worked TAD with him when we were in port. So he was out there when I first went back out there. So I'm standing watch. And at some point through my hour watch, they secured that watch. So I saw somebody come out from one of his space. It's like pitch black in the middle of the night. It's basically all I see is a shadow. They walk up right next to me. I can see facial features and everything. Turn down and look right at me. And I can't remember the guy's name now. It's been 15 years. I looked up at him and said his name. Hey, what's up, buddy? And didn't say anything. I turned back. Still didn't say anything. And I do one of these hands with my movement. His body vanishes, scares the living crap out of me, and that what got me interested in paranormal, and that's when I started to go do it and try to help families out in Okinawa, Japan when they're stuff. And I went to go. I forgot what the tunnels were called. Maybe I'll find that out when we go to break. But where the Japanese went to go underground because during World War II.
Yeah, during World War II.
We got to go investigate that, which was crazy.
Oh my gosh!
I stood in this area where they committed suicide, and there's all these indents into the walls where they just popped a grenade and killed themselves. But yeah, we got to go investigate that. So that's some crazy experiences and stuff. I would say
that was a good question, Merwin, and that was a great answer. Oh my gosh! my God.
Yeah,
I
it's,
told you,
yeah.
y'all gotta stop me. I'll go on a tangent and keep going.
No, it's good. That's why we have the conversation. That's why we try to keep them open ended because
See, our show is about trying to just create new stuff for DMs and people in the game out there. And, when we have conversations like this, then we gave DMs like 1,000 ideas you just gave out. So that's what we're about.
Yeah, especially going out and looking at seeing some. I've told ghost stories before, but yeah, seeing somebody someone's supposed to be there, you see them, they don't respond, and they just the body just vanished. Like, ugh. Yeah.
Even worse, there's another the second iteration is like when that watch it. I was just talking about from Man Overwatch. If they're running jet engines in the Vanta, we have to go to a separate location, right? So our alternate location. So to get to this alternate location. Was like the old smoke pit or whatever where sailors will go out and smoke because they're going into one certain area. Well, there's a heavy door that you have to dial down and you have to force it open, right? And when you go out there, it's pitch black, and we dog it down with like 8 dogs. When I say dogs, there's like little latches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what those are. Yeah.
There's like 8 on this door. We latch every one of them down, and as we're standing out there, watch, we start hearing weird noises, but nothing like a latch coming undone or anything. Next thing we know, this hard door, solid steel door, opens and shuts all by itself, and we dialed every dog down.
Oh my gosh!
And we were scared to death. We were like, "What the heck?" So,
I feel like we're at the story break already. Jeez.
Yeah, no. Those are good ones to share because they're very easy to adapt. Because one of the things that we talk about is using your real world experiences to translate that, because you have an emotional attachment to that moment. You felt how weird that was, so you could take that scene, put that in a game, and again, you mess with players and things change. They get crazy, anyways. They're going through a dungeon or wherever. They go through a door, they secure it behind them, they come back, and the door just opens on its own and kind of closes on its own, and just watch the chaos ensue. But to describe.
Yeah, I may not have something similar coming up soon.
There you go. Yeah, and you can describe the emotions of that. Okay, so on to the main topic. You run all these streams. You do these various campaigns. Looking at your views and your setup. I have a whole list of questions, things that I'm curious about how you got from, deciding to start the stream, which you talked about already, to where you're at now. And I'm sure Doc's got a couple of questions, so I'm going to fire some of these off at you, and I want to pick your brain about this. So, first things first. So, you mentioned a couple of the cast members, other YouTubers, or not YouTubers, but streamers and whatnot that you had known, had contact with. So, did you go out and recruit these people, like specifically for the streams, or were they people you already gamed with? How did you get the cast for Goblins and Warlocks? How did you get all those people together, and why?
Well, for Descent Inverness, I just asked my friends over at on Dice Tower Werewolf, and because I play Werewolf with them, and I told them I was interested in starting a stream. I contacted my buddy that I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan with. He's in the Air Force. If he wanted to play, because he was always interested and he wanted to learn and play, so I got him in.
Okay.
That cast has changed so much over the time. That could be set up for another question. I want to go on how cast members change out.
So basically, you set up a virtual game because you guys roll over, and now the cast has changed a few times.
Well, like you say, I run like several games. My Icewind Dale group, in my Dragonlance, in my Discord, which I'm sure you're going to ask about too.
Yep.
I put out applications and also go to D&D Beyond forum for a stream game and hold applications. For my Icewind Dale campaign, so Icewind Dale is my second campaign because I was running Descent Inverness is bi-weekly every other week, and I wanted to get more games on to grow more. And it's hard to grow if you only stream like twice a month, right? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to start another Icewind Dale campaign, and I initially asked people I know they don't have time, or people in the Descent Inverness group, and nobody had time. So
it's always a big time commitment. Always.
Yeah. So I went to D&D Beyond, put up a forum page and an application, set up a nice and pretty, make it look professional. And I thought maybe I'd get maybe like 10 applications or whatever and all that. And lo and behold, I had like over 40 applications.
And that was from D&D Beyond on just a post there.
Yeah.
On a forum there.
So I want to make sure. Am I understanding this correctly? Hold on, because I'm just curious because your experience will have been wildly different than mine. So you started up groups to stream these campaigns with randoms, just people you didn't know from anybody.
Yeah, if you start asking, I'm sure there's going to be a question about session 0. How I do my session 0s is very unique.
I was going to say, and that worked out. That's worked out for you.
There's bumps in the road, so like,
okay.
There's a reason why. So I won't throw people's names out.
No, don't do that. I don't want you to name shame anybody, but
I'm not going to name shame anybody. But I will say this: there's what in my games I put for my Icewind Dale. Let's just say a lot of forever DMs applied, and which is probably going to be my next DM confessions is about that. But like, be very wary of how many forever DMs you let in your game, because I know for me, I struggle with it sometimes when I ever do play a character. It's not backseat DM.
Yes, right.
I had a lot. The issues I was having when I did that, which makes me a little bit more vetting more or go to people I trust more, is I had a lot of people interrupting while I'm like conflicting with my rulings and stuff like that. You know, like on stream and
while you're playing.
Yeah, while I'm playing. So.
Ooh.
So I had a lot of fallout.
That's rough.
Yeah, so I had a lot of fallout, and there's a reason why there's only one Icewind Dale stream now, because the Outsiders is no longer a thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I say I remember, this is not exactly the same thing because I'm old too, but I remember putting out, hanging up flyers at the local game store because we were struggling to get people to play, and we got some real winners that like reached out to us, and only one of them made it to a session, and that shit was like the most awkward session I've ever had.
Yeah.
I have to say, go ahead, Merwin.
No, I'm saying it put me off of randoms for a long time until I went to a convention and I ran some convention games. So, and then my home games now are all people that were randoms, but like you said, that you have some bumps in the road, and now they're people that I'm good with, but. Now we vet people a lot more. But, I was disastrous for me when I first started doing it. So, but I thought you were going to tell me, we just got randoms and it was perfect the whole time. And I was going to be like, no way.
Definitely was not perfect. There's different bumps in the roads. And, right now, I think I got my streams are a lot better. When I first originally started out, I wanted to be like the whole Critical Role, be like more serious and stuff. And it took me a while to like learn that people don't come to your Twitch streams to watch people play D&D. They want to interact with the group too. So you got to find a nice medium. And up until recently, because I did a poll in my Discord if I wanted to have alerts on or not, and everybody wanted to have alerts on, so now alerts are on now to interact for stream and stuff. So people want to come in and support you and be a part of you. And if they come in and say hi to you and you don't respond or anything, they bounce right back out,
Now that's the other thing, being a rando that got into goblins and warlocks. I have to say this, goblins. See, I'm still doing it, and I did all the research on goblins too. So getting in there, I have to say this, and learning you're in the military, that makes complete sense to me now. Your rules are straight, and like you get there and you know what's going to happen. There's the 3 warning. First thing he says is everything's free. We're playing free. Nobody's charging.
I got a story for that too.
Yeah. Tell us. That's the first rule you have there. So what happened? Did somebody come in? What's going on?
So I was so basically what that was is I'm streaming and DMing all the time, and I wanted to get in a game, and I was on the forums trying to be a player in, and one thing I found was there's these people posting paid games, and they have basically I got offered to run games for that server, and they would pay me, but I had to conform to the rules they had set in place for me to run games. Okay. And I did not like that aspect of paying for a game and charging people to play in a game that you love very much. So that's why that's there. I wanted to keep it nice, fair. If I hear telling by charging for a game, no. Which kind of leads into the Discord itself. So when I put out the application for Icewind Dale, my Discord blew up like almost overnight. Everybody joining. And while doing the interviews, my vision for the Discord was a hub where DMs can link up with players link up with DMs and all this. But the added, like, nobody wants to DM, everybody wants to be a player. And then we had somebody come in, which the rules have evolved over time too. And somebody came in, wanted to run that campaign that was, wanted to have like rape or domestic violence and stuff like you don't touch.
Avant-garde, a little too much, a little too far.
Yeah, too far. And I was like, no, you can't do that. And then they immediately abruptly left. They wanted like a realistic campaign. It's like, no. I was like, I had to explain to them, like, the last thing I want to do, regardless if anybody does sign up for it or not, the last thing I want to do is if somebody's went through a traumatic event like that, I don't want them to be re-victimized. Like, regardless if it's role play or not. That's the biggest do's and don'ts.
Okay.
And then
you've also got to. So you've also got to wonder, like we've had in some of our prior shows, we've talked about the baggage people bring and the various thoughts on some of the modern sensibilities about things, but you do have to wonder when someone makes it a point that, hey, by the way, I'm really keen to have like some rapey shit going on. You're cool with that, right? When somebody like,
no,
like, why are you leading the conversation with that? Like, if like, I don't personally believe in the like the sensitivity flyer card thing. It's just not like, I have thoughts about that, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't graphically go into that stuff in the game. Like, obviously horrible things happen in war, terrible things happen when cities get sacked, but you don't, it exists, but it's not the thing that you're going to like go into in detail. So I can't imagine, like you said, it's like, somebody asking, I want to do this. I got a vision. Like, ooh, why? Ooh,
no.
Oh, that's not good. No.
So they tried to charge other people. Is that, they tried
I had people asking about that too. And like, it was like, I don't know. This general conditions. If you join a Discord, please go read the rules, because clearly this person did not read the rules. And he said,
right.
Well, can I charge people? I was like,
that's what I was going to say. I said your number one rule was everything was free. And I was just about to say, because of your military background, your rules are very straightforward. And like, it's like 3 strikes, you're out here. We're here to play D&D. We're here for fun. Don't offend people. And I have to say, your chat rooms have been cool. Everybody's been awesome. It's been really nice hanging out there. So thank you too. You run a great Discord.
One of the people
heads go in there, all right? Because you're cool there.
You'll get kicked out real quick. I have a great team. Nate, he's been there pretty much since day one, and he runs a bunch of games within the server. But one of the persons I started with, like Descendant Avernus, started the server with, we actually had to kick him out for breaking the rules. So
okay, that's tough.
That was a hard tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just thankful the Discord has grown to what it is. And like I said, as I was leading on, I eventually changed the vision for it.
Yeah, I don't know if I can hear Merwin. I want to hear Merwin checking.
I know. Hold on. I know it's a surprise, but occasionally I don't talk.
Okay.
And listen. I know it's weird when it happens. I apologize if I've made you feel uncomfortable by shutting up for a minute.
Sorry. I was worried. It didn't. I was making sure your sound was working. Sorry.
No, I got you. I also trying to be cognizant of the fact that my chair, because I do the editing on the show, so I have to listen to it, unfortunately. Yeah, my chair squeaks a little bit, and I'm real sensitive about it, so I've been like experimenting with muting myself, especially trying to keep up with, like you said, trying to stay interactive on the, in the Discord or on the chats. So I try to throw stuff on there on a regular basis, and I realized doing the last edit that you can hear me clicking away. So I'm like, okay, so I muted, I put a message up in there, I sent a message to somebody else really quick while you guys were talking, and I unmuted, and I was just listening. So I'm sorry I freaked you out, Doc.
Well, again, hats off to your staff, because your staff, I mean, everything's great. It's easy to figure out what's going on, where games are. I mean, I haven't jumped in any games yet myself because I'm busy test playing here and everything. But I'm definitely thinking about it when I'm done with this Kickstarter and everything. And it's very clear. Expectations are set, which I think is important for anybody coming in. So hats off to you for having such a cool.
Yeah, one last tidbit about the Discord, because we originally changed it from being like a gaming hub to where it's more of a community now. Because what we were trying to do, nobody was launching games, nobody was doing anything, so we changed it up to where, which led in what I was talking about, the guy asking about running one of those games,
right?
So we changed it up. So like, if you want to run a game, you have to contact one of the staff members so we can vet the game beforehand, and then we do an official announcement for people to join and how they can contact the DM. It's no more a free for all. So it's more of control. But we turn it very more into a community for Goblets and Warlocks, for the fans, for the players. Everybody get together, and it's very active. Me being in the Navy, I'm not on there as much as possible, but I do have a great staff, and I love them very much.
Excellent.
No, it's important. You gotta manage that community, and it does work better than having it be a free for all, I can imagine. Because like you said, and we've talked about this before. Not every player fits at every table. Not every DM runs a game that every player wants to be in, or that's going to work well. And that's the shit you should definitely try to get worked out ahead of time. We talked about it in one of our early episodes with our friend and fan of the show, a professional DM, RKDM. Jesus, got him falling apart today. But RKDM. Thank you very much. Jesus, God cannot function today. But no, he's a professional DM, and he had talked about having a document that says, "Hey, look, this is the game I'm running. This is the kind of stuff that we're doing. Here's the style of the game." And I had never done that until recently with the home games I started here in like my little town. I figured it just made more sense. Instead of doing session 0 and getting in there and then finding out it's a problem, and then you got the weirdo at your table. So, not that we haven't got a couple of those. I have some DM horror stories, let me tell you. But no, it just makes sense. So I want to ask you.
I don't think I ever officially answered your question, but like people like Little Bones and like newer ones, I reached out directly, and then if I couldn't fill any spots to whoever asked for it, that's when I made a post. Dragonlance, I made an application, and I cut it off at like 20 applications, and then and
good responses too. You're getting really big responses.
Yeah. Well, hey, people want to be a star. People want to get into games. People aren't as afraid of the streaming thing.
It is streaming. Is it because they're streaming on Twitch? Is that why it's more popular? Do you think than just? I don't know.
It can't be me because I'm a terrible DM. So, but I don't know. I think because it's a Dragonlance campaign, it's the new toy that's coming out, and everybody wants to play in it.
I think that's part of it too. It's part of being Dragonlance, not necessarily the stream too.
Yeah. But you do I do for my games. I do interviews. We do all over Zoom. I'll put out a set time for where everybody can fill out. I have one of my staff members help be like the third neutral person within and ask questions and stuff. And we do get some weird ones, and we get some level ones, and and within that interview, I checked their cameras, their mics, make sure everything's set and good, and it'd be a good fit. So
that's a wonderful way to end that question, because that was my second one. Well, it's a two-parter. So one, what do you do? Because these people you're not all in the same room. Obviously, you're not working on the same equipment. They're all over the place, different internet speeds, connections, camera setups, the whole 9 yards. Do you put some quality control into that, or do you just get a quality you're okay with, and it is what it is? And then second part of that, who's the ASMR guy, and how do you let anyone else but him talk? Because once he gets going, and it's real, just smooth, and he's like, "I'm gonna go over to the bar." It just pulls you right in.
That might be me.
It's one of the players. I think Little Bones made that joke about him. She's like, "Who's the ASMR guy? Like, you should just do that. That's what we're getting right now. We're getting ASMR D&D." And the guy's voice is great. Yeah. He's so smooth. He's just very smooth. Just really, real, right in there. Like, I want to listen. I want to get closer to the.
That might be Nate, the one that's underneath me.
I think so.
Yeah, and that's Nate. He's my pretty much my number one guy on my Discord. He runs like all the games and stuff. That's Nate. He plays Ori, female goblin. That's a blood hunter. That's crazy. So.
Yeah, but yeah. So no, but that was my question because So a little backstory. I don't know if Doc fills you in on this. One of the things Dungeon Studios was started with the idea that they were going to stream live games. That was the plan, right? And then the apocalypse hit and it screwed that whole thing up. And then now we're doing all the crazy stuff that we do now. As Josh has pivoted, the boss has pivoted around to doing different things. And one of the things that I've seen, and Doc and I have done some research on different streams and everything. Obviously the quality varies, and like you already said, people want to come into, people want to participate, they want to get a good story, they want to be entertained when they're going to the streams. And I've seen some that, like, good story, and maybe a player's good or a DM's good, but there's an audio issue. Or I watched one. I won't name any names. You know who you are. But no, I watched one with the DM's talking, and the camera's in a weird spot, and the audio quality's a little strange. It's not terrible. But then I look up at the players, right, and like one's got their head like bent backwards because they're looking at a monitor like on the ceiling apparently. Another guy clearly's on his phone while the DM's talking. And you're like, what is going on? Like, you're streaming a show. Like, can you at least pretend that you're paying attention to what's going on? So back to my question, jokes aside, what do you do to try to mitigate some of that stuff where people are disconnected, they're in their own little separate space, and all the world's going on, but you're trying to run a show and entertain people. How do you deal with the microphone quality and the different challenges of that? How have you approached that? Because you have a ton of videos, a lot of decent views and everything, so you're obviously doing it, and you're bringing people in. So I'm curious what your secret is.
Well, a lot of that I cover within the interviews in session 0, like I kind of talked about. I let players know up front and ask them, like, this is a stream game. This is for entertainment. We're putting on a show. Are you okay with that? If not, you are. I'll go through all this stuff and I'm testing our quality. So far, I've not had any really bad stuff. I had one of the players, the one in Icewind Dale, like, whoever, like, he had one of those crazy condenser mics that picks up like every little thing, and then I guess there was a fight outside his place, and then hard R came up. During stream, I was like, I told him, I was like, hey, can you mute your mic? And then post edit, I muted it or cut it out. I can't remember. And as soon as the stream was done, I downloaded the VOD and then deleted the VOD because I didn't want to get hit up for it. But that's like really the one time, other than people accidentally muting themselves or something like that.
That's the thing. I would think too, if you're on your stream, you've gone through this interview process with you, and my daughter comes in, I'm gonna like hit my mute for a second, what's going on.
Yeah.
So have you ever had somebody come in that like interviewed great, but they had terrible equipment, and you're like, dude, I can't use you. Like, go buy a better mic. Like, you ever run into that problem?
Let's say one player, and they actually went and got a new mic because
nice.
He had a condenser mic, and he didn't understand the difference between a condenser mic and a dynamic mic, right? So he had a condenser mic, and somebody would come in the room because he has a family and everything, right? And it was picking up a bunch of background noise while we're running a game. And then after, like, the stream, even me and a couple other players mentioned it to him and explained to him, like, so you went and got a better mic, and last stream it didn't happen. So
nice.
So that was one of the things.
Yeah, that was one of the things that. So I had my home group, like we all have from when I was growing up. And we all split out to the four winds, moving to different places and whatnot. And we keep trying to play online games. And this was years ago when they were much less sophisticated. Can't talk today. And that was one of the things that killed it. Is that I have friends, that had a computer from, I think before the telephone was invented, running on a hamster wheel and some vacuum tubes, no headset, terrible mic, dogs running around, kids going crazy, and it's like I don't know how you can hear me with all the chaos in the background, but I can't hear what you're saying. It's like I don't know why you thought sitting in your bathroom across the house and whispering at me was the best way to do this, but you're killing me. So the tech, I feel you with the tech hurdles and whatnot. So, but no, like I said, it's you're doing it, you're putting it out there. That's good.
That's why I preach to my players, like, I need y'all in at least 30 minutes before we go live. I want to make sure everybody's mic audio is great, your camera's in the right spot. Because speaking of, if you were to run, my highest recommendation, especially for my setup, if you're going to run a setup like mine where you use the second camera for a battle scene with miniatures and stuff, Zoom is where it's at. If you want to pay for Zoom, I pay for Zoom. Or if you find somebody that pays for Zoom, they can host a meeting for you and you can use it. Because you can share your screen to a separate camera and they can show the battlefield. It works perfect for what I'm doing and everything. So.
Yeah, I was going to say that was another one of the things on my list. Doc, before I get into my next question, Doc, do you have one? I don't want to.
No, go ahead.
Jumping.
You've been right down. I wanted to ask about the miniatures because I don't know anything
about that. That's the exact question I'm going to ask next. Yeah. So I without running around and grabbing them, I'm an avid painter and modeler and terrain maker and everything. So I have all that shit for my games, and hello everyone, how are we doing? Sorry, God.
He's having a lot of trouble tonight.
Here's the thing. This is my curse. As I was talking beforehand, I'm like, all right, we'll set everything up. It's a new guy. I haven't talked to him before. I think everything's gonna be good because he streams all the time. It'll probably be great. And then I'm the one that's got the mush mouth tonight because I was like, I don't know, man. I hope the guy's good. See, I cursed myself. So at least we're honest. No, so I have all that stuff, and the games that I've streamed, I have a few old videos on Twitch on demand, and we did a charity game that was up there for a while. And I can never quite figure out how to do the miniatures very well, because like yours is what I want to ask you about your setup. Is yours one set camera position, you never move it, and everything just kind of gets put in that frame, or do you move the camera around during the session, during the fights? Like how do you manage the physical part of that? Because I think I can see. Is that your board off to your right there in the back of your screen? Is that your table?
Board.
Your tabletop.
I mean, I could show you, but nobody else could see. But I have two separate cameras, right? So okay. I have the Elgato's CamLink card that you go in the back and plug in 4 cameras in. So I have 2 Sony A5100s where I can manually adjust the zoom. I typically, what I do for my setups, if I know if they're going to be a certain battle and stuff, mostly I have a general idea if they're going to be a battle or not. And I'm always trying to stay prepared as much as possible. But I set up beforehand. Like right now, I got ordered a goblet that their next encounter, which it might not even get to tomorrow night. But I already have it set up on my desk.
All set, right? Whether they get to it or not,
I have my camera set up to capture everything where I don't have to move it. But there's occasionally where I can move it. It's on a tripod. I can move the tripod and change the location and stuff. So it's not a fit setup. I do have a fixed area. If you look at older videos, I initially I was sitting so far back from the computer because I had a whole setup. I had extension cords and everything running, and it's not conducive to how I can't control like the stream and everything. So I end up moving to this setup and have it set off to the side where I can reach over and move it and stuff, move their miniatures.
Yeah, see, I was for mine. What I would like to get to is having dynamic cameras where I can either move the table to get different views, so you can get the camera eye view for the stream to watch, and then have like a big overview one. And I haven't been able to work out kind of the technical issues, and I saw you were doing it with the miniatures.
Yeah.
So I wanted to pick your brain about that a little bit. And
I think that's awesome because I have enough trouble just DMing with a map on Zoom. and then having the miniatures set up for everybody and everything. That's so much work. Hats off to you.
Yeah.
Very
So
nice.
now do your players get just the stream just the shot that you have live? Do they have access to other video of the map, like an overhead or anything, or how do you
That's what I was
manage
saying
that?
about Zoom. So in Zoom, you can go like there's a drop down where you can share like your monitor and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's another tab you can share your second camera. So basically, what happens is as we're sitting in Zoom, like how we are in Discord, it's kind of a similar setup for Zoom. Once you hit share, we go to a separate box where on your side as a guest, or you can adjust how I have it adjusted to a certain spot where I can put. This is all part of the setup for stream. They get filled in for the battle cam, but the whole screen is filled up with the second camera and what it's viewing.
Okay. Nice.
So it's relatively easy setup. I did experimenting and stuff before I even started streaming what would work out best. And the biggest hurdle was getting the right cameras for the job initially, because initially I had the one Sony A50, the one nice camera, and like what's USB cams are not that great. You can't zoom easy on them or whatever.
And then sometimes they're like wonky when the wire moves around and stuff.
Or sometimes they don't work with the software you broadcast with, and then you guys can't see me on the internet.
That's true too.
They like 5 different programs to get it to work with your setup and stuff. So
yeah, we're deep in the mix of that. All right, well, those are the 3 big things I want to know about your player setup. Talk about the minis, talk about that process. Doc, you got anything? I got one more. And then we can get into storytelling.
Well, I was actually going to ask him one about where he trained, but he said that's where he is now, so I don't think he needs to answer that question.
Trained?
If for your Navy training, where did you go for your Navy? I live in Annapolis, so I was just wondering where you did your training, and if you don't want to talk about that, that's fine. I was just
that's fine. Boot camp is in Illinois, obviously. That's their only boot camp. I joined undesignated, so I didn't have a job in the Navy, so I was undesignated, right?
Right.
Then I went back to school after roughly about a year. I went back to MA school, Master at Arms, which is pretty much military police.
Right.
And that school is in Lackland, Texas. So.
Okay. Very nice.
I think what he's trying to avoid
is... And then you were in military police for a while? Cool.
And then along the way, I picked up what we call NECs, is extra qualifications. So I'm actually qualified to teach people how to shoot.
All right, excellent. No, I hats off to anybody in the service. I have a good friend of mine in our OG crew that's a colonel for the National Guard Air Force, and you guys always, I'm always impressed by how much work. Whether you started and you're a lifer or you've come in, you guys do so much for us and do so much. So thank you again.
I think what he's trying to hide is that he's streaming this on the military satellites from his nuclear submarine under the Arctic. He just wanted everyone to figure it out.
Well, in fact, the Navy tried to put me on submarines, and I was like, no, I'm too tall for that.
Yeah.
If I cannot see the sun, and I'm underwater for 7 months, I'm like, I'll go crazy.
That's not your thing. That's not. Your thing.
Here's it. When you were telling your story about the aircraft carrier, I was terrified that you were going to talk about somebody jumping or falling off of it, because they're, I think, what are you like 10 or 15 stories up when you're on the flight deck from the water? Higher than that.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh.
The most terrifying thing I've done on aircraft carrier, which was my last transfer change of commands. We're out on deployment, so I had to launch off the aircraft carrier in what we call a COD, and basically it's this small little aircraft that looks like it's held together with duct tape and stuff. So when it takes off, you get launched off the aircraft carrier, and you're sitting backwards in the seat. So when you take off, you're leaning forward, and you can't help it. And the thing fills up with smoke, and it looks scary as crap. But
is this just like a little person pod? They just shoot you out. And
it can hold roughly, I think, about 10, 15 people, maybe, and a bunch of cargo.
Oh my gosh!
It's the same small aircraft. Fun fact is how they get mail out to the sailors out in the middle of the ocean. That's what brings them, cargo, the mail. and then people transfer off, and that's how they get off. But
Okay.
yeah. Hope I'm not spilling too much. Maybe they won't. Hopefully, they don't hear this and come after me or something.
No, I think you're good. I think we all know the military shit's held together with duct tape and a prayer. So we know how that works.
The most scariest that it is because I don't like flying, and I
I think I could handle flying. Not a fan of heights, or at least not a fan of falling. But I might be able to handle flying, although I haven't been up on a plane since I was a little kid. But the shit that freaks me out the most, I think, is watching the videos when the ships are in bad water and you're going up a 30-foot wave and then dropping down into the trough and then back. And I can't. I would lose my shit so fast.
Is so big, it's stable most of the time, even in rough waters. But I remember my first tour, or we were doing our trainings and stuff, when we went up north by like Alaska somewhere, and there was a typhoon on that side of the water and hurricanes on the other side because they spin differently. We were up there, and in a typhoon, it's like the tail end of it. And the water was just so bad. I was on the back of the fantail where I was telling my ghost story earlier. I was doing like the way the ship was dipping, the water was above my head. It was scary.
Yeah, no, I can't handle that.
But it's like aircraft carrier, so it had to be that rough waters for it to be like this.
I was gonna say an aircraft carrier deck going at like some ridiculous angle, you know.
Fun fact, Transformers 2, I was on the ship where they filmed it. At the very end of the ship, where Shia LaBeouf is standing with Megatron at the end of the flight deck. I don't know if you ever watched the movie or not, but at the very end of the movie, during that scene, I'm driving that ship.
Really?
No way! That's so cool!
Yeah.
That's awesome! I have to watch it again now and be like,
that's pretty.
You don't see me. I'm in the bridge.
No, but I know who's driving the boat.
That's one of those things that like you get like, guess what I know. I like it. Well, hey,
I was driving the ship and Tyrese walked right in front of me.
I got a buddy. His claim to fame is that he was at his one of my friends. His buddy Big Joe was like a professional extra, and then he had the greatest business ever. When he couldn't get extra gigs, he figured out that they always needed a place for the actresses to change, right? So those like the folding curtain things we were talking about a while back, like the little privacy dividers. So he bought like some cheap wood and some fabric, and he made 3 panels that were like 6 foot tall and about 4 feet wide, screwed them together with hinges so it would fold up flat. And then because he had done extra work, he would go to the production companies and go, hey, if you guys ever need like on-site like privacy stuff, I'm your guy. And they would pay him like $500 a day to bring this little folded up curtain he made, and just to have it. So like it's like we need she's got to change real quick, change her top. Okay, and he would just unfold it and then hold it kind of somewhere private, and the actress would run behind it and change really quick. And he made more money doing that than he ever did as an extra. And he got to hang out on set all day and go to the craft services and hang out with all the people. And then he just packed up his like 3 panels of wood and left at the end of the day, $500 richer, ate for the whole day, hobnob with the famous people. So, but my buddy's claim to fame was that he went to this guy's house when he was living in Jersey and stepped over one of the guys that was in Blair Witch Project. That's his big claim to fame. So he was sleeping on the floor of his buddy's house. Yeah, he was sleeping on at his buddy's house on the floor, and he stepped over him to go into the house, and he goes, "That's where that guy was." All right, great. All right, well, hey, that runs through the questions and things that I have. Thank you for going through that. So what we normally do is we go into a little bit of story time, we take a short break while we run some ads in the middle of our show, then we get back and we go into our second half topic. So I hope it's not too late for you. You good to hang out for the rest of the show?
Yeah,
awesome.
I don't work tomorrow, so I'm good. You got me
wonderful. Well, just a little preview, everybody. The second half, what I wanted to talk to you about is one of your recent projects, the DM Confessionals, and I wanted to have a little mini impromptu session of shit we've screwed up and how we're going to fix it, because I love the idea. But before that, I want to go into a little story. We talk a lot about gaming and things on here, and some of my experiences. And I was thinking today what story I could tell, and I remember one of my favorite ones from being young involves the player I was talking about last week, the manipulative evil one, who used my hunger for Taco Bell to bribe me to give him a +2 ring in the game. I was in another game with him. Our Eddie Munson, my friend's older brother, was running it, and it was his girlfriend, me. Somebody got a herald on.
We're good. Keep going.
So, anyways, we're playing this game. It's the DM's girlfriend and this guy and my friend and my buddy Mike. And we're playing, and he's up to his usual manipulative evil nonsense, right? He charms the DM's girlfriend into being his bodyguard. He's using NPCs to open doors and get blown up for him. Typical stuff that like you do. And he keeps trying it with me and my buddy to force us to be his little minions. We won't do it, right? So finally, after being rejected numerous times, he gets mad. And he goes, you know what? He goes, you need to start listening to me, or there's going to be consequences, because you guys all know that I will kill all of you guys. We're like, really? Really? You think you're badass enough? He goes, yeah. I go, you mean like you by yourself? Well, no. Obviously, my friend, DM's girlfriend, who's my bodyguard, will fight for me. And she's like, yeah, to hell with you guys. We're going to kick your ass. We go, okay, you want to do this? I'll go right now with PvP right now. We'll figure it out right now. I'll murder your character. I'll murder her character. I don't even care. He goes, you can't beat me. I have all the power. It's getting crazy. We're going back and forth. And the DM goes, you know what? Fuck it. You guys want to fight? You can fight. Start right now. And we're like, well, hold on. Let's get terms here. And we go, we're going to fight right now? And we trick the manipulative, which we laid a trap for the manipulative evil player. We say, hang on, you want to fight right this second? Because you're not really prepared. Wouldn't you feel better? You're a wizard. Wouldn't you feel better having a little bit of time to figure out what you want to do? How about this? You give us like 5 minutes to plan, and then we'll have the fight. You want to do that? Yeah. That's what we're going to do. Great. And we each get, we can do 2 things before the fight starts. You can cast 2 spells before the fight starts if you want to. Yeah, that's exactly all I need to kill you guys. Okay, well, go take your 5 minutes. We're going to take our 5 minutes and our 2 actions. We'll be right back. So they run off into one room, we run off into the other. I look at my buddy, I go, okay. I go, you got the items we talked about, right? He goes, yeah, I got the item. I go, okay. Does he know we have these? No, he doesn't know we have this item. Okay. So here's the plan. And I'll tell you guys what that is after our break. So, I know it's a short one. Normally I talk a lot longer than that. Thank you guys for listening. Everybody's hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Our intermission today, I think, runs about 9 minutes, so it is 10:53 on the East Coast. I'm going to run this, guys. Grab a drink, hit the bathroom, come on back at 11 o'clock, and when the ads are done running, we'll get back into the second half of the story and our second half topic, DM Confessions, with our guest, Jugan, and the Doctor. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you on the other side.
we won despite of our greedy rogue looting all in sight. Oh, and now we ask her Stormer, the rogue never knows better. better please.
Preparing battlegrounds, level ones in the crowd. Not many are allowed, one crit could bring them down. So squishy from the mold, they're weak but very bold. Took hours to propose, but seconds to dispose. Who starts this alone, you sadist? Yeah, they'll get ground to great dust! So nice. They always start out so nice. Now I'm starting to weep. Myra whiffs every stab. All these rolls are a joke. I should wave the white flag. With my move and I fled. But then I hear a click. And all I see is red as I fail with my... My bank account busting, never have enough. All of my friends judging. This one's oversized, this one hurts the most. Managing my heart, are you taking notes? Just once said and you're well on your way. You think that you're done, but you can't disobey. The voices in your head, it's a lethal dose. Click, clack, you're a dragon, you've been diagnosed. Hey, you beautiful showcase, I need a step for every race. Like what do they have to gain? Ill if it's serving the elder brain. Calling the weak that they find like time to hide. Or they'll suck out your mind.
Addicted to the way your mind is played right there before me. I'm an aberration creeping in the underdark just looking. I share everything with elder brain. We speak with telepathy, lawful evil. Eat your brain, I drop your HP down to nothing.
Show me what's inside your mind, behind that pretty face. I can't dominate monsters, but dictate once a day.
And you can lead your bodies to me, make them wish they fled. I'm in the heads inciting dread, and now they're wondering.
Everybody, we are back. Doc, you back with me? Jurgen, you back with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
This time, Doc is chewing. I got caught doing that last week.
You told me 11:05. It's 11:04, man. Come on.
Well, okay, I'm a few seconds off. That's what you get. Go ahead, drink your coffee. I have mine, because clearly I need it. Welcome back. This is the game brought to you by Dungeon Studios. We appreciate you listening live on our special session Sunday. Thanks to our guest, Jugan, for being with us, hanging out through the break and being back here for our second half topic. And thank to you all who have supported us through our Kickstarter, our various endeavors, and in the future. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends. Let's get back to story time. I realize I didn't do the beginning of this very much justice. But I'm going to try and pick it up in the second half. So like I said, we break into our two little sessions. We're planning to murder each other's characters because tonight's going to be the night. I look at my friend and I say, do you have it? And he goes, yes. He checks his character sheet and he produces a potion of superheroism. Now this is 2nd edition D&D. Superheroism at this time, this potion grants your character 5 full character levels. So we're playing in a version where characters are very weak at lower levels. I believe we were all right around 5th level. So the wizard's got like a fireball, if he's feeling saucy. Not much else going on. I'm about to become a 10th level fighter with way more hit points than he can deal with, multiple attacks. And then my friend, I believe, was playing... What would it have been? I think he was playing a ranger still. So a little bit of range support back in the day. And on the other side is the manipulative evil player who thinks he's got it all worked out. And the DM's unknowing girlfriend, who I believe, because the evil player is going to evil, he thought that because she was on his side, there's no way the DM would let us win the fight. So we go back out. I'm like, you've made your 2 preparations? And he's chuckling to himself. He's cast his spells. And we're like, okay. Right,
and this is 2 on 2. This is
2 on 2, yep.
2 on 2.
Yep. So he's had his 2 rounds to prepare, and he thinks he's a master strategist. He thinks he's a genius. He thinks he's got it all worked out, both in-game mechanically and out of the game, because he's got the DM's girlfriend on his side. We roll initiative, I win, and then I just tear into his wizard's ass in a way he never expected. He's like, you don't have 3 attacks! You can't do this! I go, dude, I took a potion of superheroism. I'm 10th level for the rest of this fight. Well, what is that? When did you get that? I didn't know about that. I go, yeah, it's right here on my character sheet. You want to read it? Go ahead, take a second, get used to it. Just let it soak in. Enjoy. Round proceeds. This is 2nd edition, so I think his wizard had like 35 hit points. So, dead. 1 round, 0 chance. And then it's just the DM's girlfriend sitting there like barely knows how to play D&D. And he begins to cry foul, and he's screaming, and he gets up, and all the chaos is breaking out, and me and my buddy are just laughing our heads off at this. Laughing our heads off. I'm like, all right, well, we're killing her too, I guess. She's like, I don't want my character to die. It's his fault. He started it. He charmed me. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? You got to pay the price because you were laughing about it beforehand. And at that point, as we're about to slaughter her, the DM goes, hang on a second, hang on. All right, I don't want to let this happen. We're all friends. So I want to rewind this if everybody's okay with it. And we're like, I don't know, dead wizard. Are you okay with it? You going to cut your shit? Because I still have that potion. I will murder you. You get uppity again. He's like, yeah, no, I was just joking around, guys. We're all friends. DM resurrects him. We play it off like it never happened. The next week, magically, the manipulative evil player couldn't play anymore. He had to drop out of the campaign. It was weird. It was auspicious timing. He couldn't play anymore after I murdered him. That's strange. I wonder what happened. Something was different. Anyways, those are the kind of psychopaths that I play with. Jugan, if you ever get a chance to check out our old episodes, I have a whole series called Player Alignments. They're quality things. Manipulative evil, psychotic evil, deceitful evil. Pretty much they're all evil because I don't like people, and that's how it goes.
And that's like 80% of that's like 80% of D&D players.
We had the lawfully undecided.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that.
Lawfully undecided.
What did we've actually I have it in my notes. We've added it. What was the other one we added?
We've added a bunch. We've made up a couple along the way now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we had random stupid. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, random.
What? Oh God! What the hell was the other one he had? Oh, it's in the. I got it. I have it written down somewhere.
player alignments, Jugan, you could add to our list?
Well, let me explain. Let me give you the background on this really quick. So I think that in RPGs, playing a character who is really different than how you are and decides things differently than getting away from you as a person is really hard to do, and you have to play a while and be comfortable with it, and eventually people get there. Early on, though, I think people's characters are usually end up just defaulting back into some version of them, and thus there's no character alignment. There is only player alignments, and that's how I came up with all these. So yeah, if you got a suggestion for one, I'm happy to hear it.
The other one I've been thinking about while he's pausing, you should always give someone pause time to think, is the chaotic me.
Chaotic me?
I was about to
Chaotic
suggest
me.
chaotic stupid. Is that one of them?
We have things along the line. So there's random dumb, and then I think we do have chaotic stupid. What would your example of a chaotic stupid player be?
I have one in one of the streams.
Okay. All right, well, go ahead and start with this. Tell me all about it.
The Outsiders one is not is one of the canceled because I had all those problem players. But one of the players, I described this stream that, and the players themselves had the map. They had the map knowledge because I sent it to them because we're playing virtually. Mm-hmm. The river. They're in the underground tunnel. Was a hot stream that's running underneath. It's a rushing river, and he decides he wants to jump in it. Well, the river flows into an endless bottomless pit where your character would die automatically. Right. He jumps in. Then the rest of the party jumps in to try to save them. And we almost lost 3 players because of it. I gave the one that initially jumped in one last dexterity saving throw to save.
Just try, please.
To save the druid that jumped in to try to help because she failed her save, and I gave him one last roll to try to catch her staff that she's holding onto to hold her. And thankfully enough, the party was everybody knew that river was bad and it's a rushing river, and he decided he wanted to jump in.
Yep. All right. No, fair. That is a fair example. I think the birth of my chaotic stupid one. We were playing. It was a game with no alignments. We were playing Shadowrun, and the party is at this big climactic battle. They're going to fight the evil toxic shaman with his summoned spirits, and they're all plotting how they're going to get past all the guards and everything to get to the guy. And while everyone's planning, which is a lot of what Shadowrun is, the one girl. Who was only there because it was one of the players' girlfriends, and I felt bad. She's like, "Hey, so they're all talking, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." And there's like a guard over there I can see. I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, well, I'm going to shoot him and help everybody out, but just get rid of him real quick by myself while they're talking." I'm like, "Okay." And then she proceeds. You just picture this in your mind in the game. You have a security guy in like combat armor. You're in the military, so you know what I'm talking about. You know, flak jacket and the whole thing, helmet, 9 yards, night vision goggles, and some sort of assault rifle. And then here is this like dirty street kid who pulls out like a 22, like a 38 special, and like I just take a shot at him from like 50 yards away. And she's like, "Do I kill him?" I'm like, "No." Like, no. See all that stuff he's wearing I described? Yeah, that's body armor. Do you know what your street line special self-defender pistol does? It doesn't go through body armor. That's what it doesn't do. I'll tell you that. And then everyone's like, wait, what just happened? Like, she shot the guard. You shot the guard! And then just chaos ensued from there. So that's my chaotic stupid. So we're on the same page, sir. Good job. I like it. We will add your story to the lexicon of player alignments. But now onto our second half topic. So
Dugan had mentioned something. He wanted to go back and talk about his session 0.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Let's go back to that first.
Yeah, you asked, and I wanted to, I'm doing this shit I forgot this episode.
Okay.
He's not here next episode.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to get it all the way now.
We're gonna give you a special second half. Shit, I forgot. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you asked me, how do I handle, players, that never met or whatever. So after I do the interviews to select my players, we have our session 0. I go over like what I do differently as a DM and my special homebrew rules I run, and all that good stuff. And it gives the players a chance, because we're all over Zoom, and everybody gets a chance to meet each other and stuff. And of course, like when you meet new people, you're all kind of quiet and tense and trying to feel each other out. I discovered the best way for players to get to know one another is it's mandatory. After we go over the rules, everybody does their dice rolls for hit die and stats and all that we play chatbots.
Okay.
We sit there and play chatbots, play all games, start laughing together, get used to each other, and that way, when we have our first episode live stream, is not as bad.
Everyone's all comfortable. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And I don't think Doc heard any of that.
We had a Cthulhu emergency here at my house.
Cthulhu rises.
Yeah, Cthulhu rose, so I had an emergency. Sorry about that.
No, you're good, buddy. No, that's
It's
a good idea. Yeah. So Jugan was saying, after session 0, he has a mandatory hangout where the people play games together.
Oh yeah,
to get to know each other. No, it's a very good one.
Now I used to train
Jackpot specifically.
I used to train lifeguards and recreation staff, and we always used to do stuff like that, play Risk or play some kind of board game, team building, all kinds of team building stuff like that. Love it.
Yeah, that's where that's one. Same thing. I'm in my real world job. One of the things I do is I'm an instructor. I teach security guards, and one of the things I did, I came up with those icebreaker questions. It was, and the how many fifth graders could you handle if that was your method of execution, was one of those. And I never got to explain the psychology behind it. The reason I do that is you can get a good read on people, right? So first of all, it's a ridiculous question, and the questions that people ask about the scenario are always hilarious, right? So that's fun. That's revealing, but you can always tell some core personality traits based on how people answer. So if someone says, "Hey, okay, hang on a second, let me just make sure I understand," and they really think about it, like this is typically a person who, no matter how ridiculous, they're going to take the challenge you present them and try to figure it out. They're like, "Okay, how would I survive?" Right? They give some serious thought. And then you have people that just go, "It's impossible. I just quit." And that those kind of people are in the quick tap club.
I'll go straight Anakin Skywalker on them.
Yeah, but then you get the last group, and they're like, "I wouldn't die." Like, well, I gave you the rules. Like, it's an infinite supply of fifth graders. Eventually, you're going to get tired. I would kill them all, and you're like, okay, this is a person who has an overinflated
ego,
an overinflated sense of self, and doesn't care about your rules. They think they're better than them. And those are the kind of players that maybe you don't have in your game. Or in the security world, though, these are the kind of people that you got to worry about them going rogue on you, and they think it's a good idea to chop somebody in the neck instead of trying to talk them down or do what they're supposed to do. So that's where I came up with that. So it's good, but I like the game thing much better. It's not quite as invasive as making people give up their personality traits, but I like it. No, it's a good thing. That's one of the things I'd heard this a while ago, and I think it's a good thing, is that you can always tell the health of your overall gaming group by how many people do things outside of the game together, especially if they weren't friends to start. And that's a big way to know that things are going in the right direction. If people are hanging out, talking outside of the game, and like I said, finding those common interests and whatnot. Like our producer Josh keeps trying to get me to smash him at Civilization 6, and I don't want to hurt his feelings, so I won't play against him because he knows better. I know better. He'll be sad at the end of it.
Yeah, like right before we sit down to record this and live stream this, I asked my community who would be interested in doing a Last of Us viewing party, because that comes out tonight, or is already out. So.
Nice. That is one of the games. Well, moving on to the second topic here, our DM confessional. I'm gonna give you one as a nerd. It's one of my deepest regrets as a video game player. I didn't own a PlayStation when that game came out. I had moved over to Xbox. So I had PS1, PS2, and then I got an Xbox. So I didn't get that generation PlayStation. I never got to play The Last of Us. I love zombies. I love horror survival games like that. I love Resident Evil. and I've heard nothing but amazing things about The Last of Us. I never actually got to play through the game because I could never hook it up where either I had a PlayStation to play the game on or could borrow someone's like I had done with other systems in the past. So I've never played through the game. I heard it's amazing, a great story. I know some things about it. Never got to play through it.
What game is you talking about?
The Last of Us.
The Last of Us. Now,
And
my confession too is I never played it either. And how I know the story is by watching streamers play it.
Yeah, I've watched a bunch of clips about it. Yeah, and I saw the movies coming out. And I'm like, all right, it's 20 years later. I'm not buying a PlayStation anytime soon. I'm just gonna have to admit the fact that I'm never gonna play one of the greatest games of all time. And I'm just gonna go watch the movie and enjoy myself and just kind of call it a day. But there's a little part of me that doesn't want to.
It's a TV show.
Oh, is it? I thought it was.
No, it's a series.
What am I? Okay, it's right. TV show. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
we get more than a movie out of it.
Oh, even well, that's as has been evidenced by the latest round of flops and subpar shows. I mean, that's a mixed bag. I hope it's good.
It's really good.
Hey,
so
a shooter
all the
video
reviews
game
are...
is now a TV series.
Oh, there's a bunch of them. They made a Halo one that flopped.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. That's one of the streaming services I don't have.
Yeah, there's a content problem in my opinion with a lot of these things, and it's have we gone into the show? Have I got into this rant on the show at all?
Yeah, kind of. Jugan, are you a Star Wars fan? Are you a Star Wars fan at all?
Yep.
All right, Andor, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, I like thumbs up too. Bad Batch.
The TV shows are far better than the movies.
How about Bad Batch?
Well, I was going to avoid this argument. Hang on a second. Jugan was going so well until we got into this. All right, really cool. Okay, hold on. Andor, I haven't got through the series. I know it's phenomenal though, and Rogue One was one of my favorite movies that they've had in the Star Wars series.
By far my favorite.
Yeah, like it might be the second best, or in the top three all time.
Andor is only elevating it higher.
Okay, so I gotta watch that. So okay, Helen. So are you saying that the Obi-Wan show was good?
I like the Obi-Wan show.
Obi-Wan was good. I give Obi-Wan 2 thumbs up. It's very good. Yeah, we'll give it 2 thumbs up. Right? You and I both give it thumbs up.
Ewan McGregor, you cannot argue with his talent.
No. Here's the thing. I don't have a problem with
Merwin. I will say this, Merwin. If anything,
before I attack
the Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett was
please
weak.
Don't.
That was
weak doesn't describe it.
No, I'm just gonna say it was weak because they're not done. They're not.
Oh no, they're done because they ruined it. That's how done they are.
No, they're not done because Disney loves to beat something.
As soon as they had to put 2 episodes of The Mandalorian in the middle of it to save that season, it was done.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Now, without getting into the full rant, because I will do this shit for 6 hours.
Say it.
Do you at least? So I have no problem with Obi-Wan, his portrayal. I love Ewan McGregor. My problem with the show is 2 things. One, it's got just lazy, bad writing because they seem to have this thing, and this is my critique of the whole kit and caboodle of them. Is they have scenes they want in the show, and they have a message they want to send. The story they want the story to go a certain way, and then rather than write the story to support where they want to get to, they just throw some shit on the page, and then things just happen to work out the way they're supposed to, with zero logic whatsoever. So do you agree with that from watching the Obi-Wan series that they did that shit a bunch?
Go ahead, Jugan. You answer first. Go ahead.
Yes and no. They have dropped some when Obi-Wan was on the back of the car with little Leia, he dropped hints of his backstory with his brother.
Yeah.
That got me invested in that story. That's those stories. I agree that agree with them adding stuff in just to add it, of course. But it was fun to see the fight between Vader and Obi-Wan, the last meeting. That was cool. Other than that,
now here's my thing. I think, Merwin, to your question, I think you are right. I think some of the writing did fall a little bit short. Well, here's the big one.
Okay.
In episode 4,
Yep.
Darth Vader says to Princess Leia, "You weren't on a mercy mission this time."
Mm-hmm.
Now that line, well, when did you meet her before? When did you bump into her? The opportunity for that little girl to go up to Darth Vader and say that she was on a mercy mission and that he couldn't do anything to her would have been such a monumentous tie-in to the writing of the original script. It just like there's that, and that's where I felt like they felt the writing could have kind of crossed the T's a little bit more. Andor, they're doing it already. You can see how many things they are crossing together for the whole story arc, where I felt like they left that out. Now the battle was great, I agree, but it also go ahead.
No, I was going to say, in the interest of bringing our show back to talking about D&D, I'm going to let you be wrong, and
All right.
we're going to move on. For Jugan, who probably doesn't know this, and for those of you that haven't heard me talk about it before, one of my formative experiences in life was seeing and remembering going to see Empire Strikes Back in the movie theater when I was 3, and then Return of the Jedi when I was 5. So before I ever got a single lick of fantasy in me, it was Star Wars, and
He was Baby Yoda at Empire Strikes Back.
It's one of my dearest things of all time. So I feel very passionate about it and could do this for hours. I will concede to your point. Here's the thing: there are parts of the show that were good, and I'm okay with saying that even if I don't like the story's take on some of the characters, like the Obi-Wan's arc being the kind of PTSD veteran, disillusioned guy. Like, I don't particularly care for how that was done, but I get why that's an interesting story to some people. So
it's interesting to me because I'm pretty much that. So
yeah, I'm with it 100%. So I understand that entirely. There's other things that I have issues with. So you make valid points, and they're definitely, Doc, to your point, Doc, there definitely were connections they could have made.
It is sad in all of these different sci-fi genres, whether it's Star Wars, Doctor Who, whatever it is. There's so many stories now that it just keeps getting painted in more and more, and less is left to our imagination. And I think that's the big thing. But let's get back to our confessions, right?
Yeah, let's get back. Yeah, so Jugan, let me ask you. So, and feel free to cut me off if I'm not doing it justice. So you put out this series, a recent one called DM Confessions, where you go over things that you thought were a mistake in your game or an issue, something that didn't go the way you wanted it to, and then you kind of put out there how to fix it. So. So how did you get to the idea of making that into a web series? What was the onus behind that?
That's my question too. Yeah, that's what I was wondering as well, because I think it's a great idea.
So I initially started like my YouTube as for Rainbow Six Siege and all that stuff. I ended up switching brands to D&D and all that stuff, and I have a lot of stuff for Ultimate Werewolf 2. But I've been recently growing on Twitch a lot more than YouTube and trying to understand analytics for YouTube. I finally understand you have to create separate content for YouTube, right? And I'm looking, I kind of approach it the same way I approached my D&D stream when I first started. It's like, what can I do different from other streamers that sets me apart from what they're doing? And I was looking, like, everybody has their own tips and tricks and stuff. And I had this vision that, because as a DM, to be DMing for 20 years or 5 years, 2 years, it doesn't matter. Everybody makes mistakes. We're all human, right? And I know there's a few things I wish I could go back and change, or it didn't play out, or it could play out differently. And I thought maybe taking a different take than other than sitting in front of the camera and say, hey, here's 10 tips to be a better dungeon master, because there's already like 20 videos.
A billion of those. Yeah, right.
So I wanted to try something different and see how it is. And I've only made one video, It's kind of testing launching pad to see how it does. It's a rough cut. I could have done that a lot better, but you know, I want to see how it does, because analytics, keywords that you put in is how YouTube analytics work, right? Everybody says 10-minute videos or a video a week, whatever. That's not all incorrect. YouTube analytics hits up for viewers, what viewers watch, right? So if somebody comes to watch one of my videos all the way through, it'll recommend another one of mine. Or if somebody watches a similar video that has similar tags or whatever, mine might pop up for them to watch. That's how the analytics for YouTube works. So it doesn't matter how long your video is, doesn't matter how much you update, it's how you connect with other similar stuff that viewers are watching. So I felt like DM Confessions could be a way of looking back on self-reflection for me growing as a DM, also providing stuff what I learned to help maybe other DMs that might have had similar problems.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing I kind of liked about it too, was when Merwin and I started doing this, I said to Merwin, look, I just want to be me. I can't be anybody else but me. I can't do crazy stuff, whatever. And I felt like when I saw your video, you're just you. You're like, I'm like the DM, but then you have, you know, the voice talking back to you, which I thought was just such a great thing, because I think about after I have a session, how I do that to myself, you know, and that's why I was like, wow, this is such a great idea.
Yeah, so that was one of the driving things when we were setting up the format of this show was, you know, we wanted to have conversations about gaming topics and things, and not be locked into that, you know, the top 10 ways you can copy everybody else and shit like that. Yeah. And just be able to go through, and if, as you have experienced numerous times tonight, we get off on tangents, we go down the rabbit hole, we bring up shit that, you know, like, you know, things I hate, which is pretty much everything. But that's where all this stuff comes from, is just wanting to talk about that and have those kind of conversations. And one of the things that we've talked about, I have a lot of day one DM tips, that's what I call them. I think I might have brought this one up before, but it ties right into with your show and with this show and what you've done, was the idea that you accept the fact that a lot of what you do is a first draft. So you're going to write things down and plan them out for your session, and they're not going to go the way you thought they were going to go. And you're a military guy, so you will have heard this maxim before, that, you know, no plan survives first contact with the enemy, and no session notes survive first contact with your players, because they fucking suck and they're going to screw it up. And they're gonna do whatever dumb shit you weren't expecting, like jump down the hole, or, you know, break your module in 5 seconds because they cheat and had a 5th level character in a 1st level game. I won't name any names, Ty, but, you know, that shit happens. So don't be too hard on yourself. And then the other one, and we deal with this now, and, you know, when you talk to other DMs and people on the internet, I'm sure you've had this interaction where they're not willing to accept that anything that they did could have been better. I won't say wrong, that maybe that's harsh, but they could have written it different, planned it better. They didn't do it perfectly, and it didn't come off the way they wanted to. I've had that shit happen a ton. When I was younger, I had a hard time admitting that. I was like, it was fine, the players just suck. You know, like, that riddle was fine, they're just too stupid to figure it out. But that's not always the case, right? So it's nice to see that kind of content. So like I said, you doing that, not only do you have specifics that you fix, lessons to teach, just having the confessional is a lesson in and of itself. So I think it's a wonderful idea too. So I thought it'd be a good idea. Stealing a page out of our last guest book, we're going to steal your idea for our topic, the second half of the show.
Idea, yes.
I won't do it. We'll only do it when you come by and visit, so we don't take your thunder. But let's have a little DM confessional right now. I have a bunch of gigantic ones that that I have ready to go. One in particular, but since you're the guest, Jugan, do you have, you know, not to spoil any future topics, but do you have something that, you know, has been bugging you?
Well, maybe. How about this? So he doesn't use any of his content.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin any of your content.
What if you and I have to confess to him, and he can be the voice?
The voice of reason.
Yeah, we have to answer.
Oh, so how about, you know what then?
What is your confession?
How about that? Here's an idea. Here's how we're going to do this. Doc, we will confess. We will get Jugan's opinion, his judgment on what we could have and should have done different, how to fix the problem, and then we'll actually honestly tell him what we did to what we thought we were going to fix the problem with.
No pressure, right? Okay.
No pressure at all.
Yes, I'll have you lead because I'm still trying to think of what I'm going to talk about. I'm still
all right.
Kind of which confession I would give up here.
Okay.
Without
all right.
spoilers, because about spoilers too.
So, all right. So, let's see. What's a good one for me? Well, let's just go with the biggest one. This has been weighing on me for a while. DM confessional. I have sinned.
I might steal that one too.
I have made an impure decision in the heat of the moment. Here's what I did. I was playing in a long running game. We got to the very end of it, and we had a player who, for a while, was going very chaotic. We had played in person. Everything was fine. We had to go long distance when everybody was in their own homes during the lockdown. Everything was fine, and then we were able to get together locally, but he had moved over the course of the apocalypse and couldn't physically come join the game. And we didn't want to exclude him. We wanted to keep him there, so we let him, he played remotely. Worked okay, but some things started to change. So we get to the very end, where like literally the last 2 sessions of the entire campaign. It is the mini boss battle, closing up some story arcs, and then the finale of the campaign is like the next week, right? So the fight goes on, and one of the characters, who, full disclosure, is my daughter's character, her whole motivation in the game was trying to find this friend, right? That NPC shows up and just happens to be with the bad guy, but they found out that it started off as a kidnapping, and then there was some shared interest and whatnot. So it wasn't that they had taken a heel turn. It's just they were there with the bad guy, and had not had the experiences with the NPC who became the mini boss of the campaign, which was the problem player's original character that he walked away from after another thing, which I will tell that story one of these times too, because it was one of the best gaming sections I've ever had. But anyways, so they're fighting this guy, the mini boss, the player's former character. His current character is engaged in the battle, and the friend of my daughter's character, that NPC, is at the far end of this bridge that they're fighting on. There's undead giants and all sorts of cool stuff. And as soon as they got the upper hand, right? So the mini boss was going to be defeated. The giants were taken care of. He abruptly runs to the far end of the bridge where he had seen this NPC. He, as a player, and his character knows that this is another party member's. Basically, their personal goal is to find and save this character. They've been working on it for months of gameplay. He runs over. She's done nothing to harm the party. She's just been there. Runs over and unleashes a freaking volley of attacks on this character. Drops the character to 0. And I'm like, okay. I may not like how it went, but I can understand the logic. That you just wanted to make sure they didn't decide to all of a sudden at the end of the fight, after doing nothing, start throwing spells at you, I guess. I don't agree with it, but I'll let it slide. Puts the character down. I said, okay, so your second of 3 attacks drops the character unconscious at your feet. So what are you gonna do? Like, you gonna run back and hit the boss, or clean up one of the undead giants that's left over? What are you gonna do? He goes, no. He goes, I downed this one. I'm just gonna punch her and kill her. I'm like, you're going to kill the NPC that a party member has been trying to save for the whole campaign, that's done nothing. Yeah, she needs to die. I can't let her attack us. And I fucking lost it. I just snapped, and one of the players sitting at the table, he looks at me, he goes, why is he doing that? And I go, I don't fucking know. Apparently he thinks his character should be evil 1 game before the end of the campaign. Go ahead, fucking do it. and I just fucking lost it.
Cool. In front of everybody.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And and it got real quiet and real awkward.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you hit her, it's a crit. All right, I got to roll a death save in the next round. And then it goes around in the next round. My daughter's character goes running across the bridge to save her friend. Doesn't get there in time. I have to make one death save, and of course I fail, so now the character is dead. And I'm like, all right, that's the end of the session for tonight anyways. We'll figure out what happens next time. And then I just cut the game off. I have made mistakes. So how do what should I have done instead of losing my cool that this player went rogue and murdered somebody's backstory character? Potentially, by the way, causing a party fight that would destroy the entire campaign the session before the last one. What should I have done?
Is this game streamed or is it just a home game?
No, it was our home game.
But at least it's not streamed. All right. How old is your daughter?
13. Well, it's 12 at the time. And her response to it was appropriate in character shock and emotion. And then she's like, all right, I'm just going to kill this character now. We're cool with this. This is going to go down. I'm like, oh, my little murder hobo. I love you so much. But took it really well, like in stride. I was one that lost my shit.
The biggest thing I would suggest is it's probably my next topic because I let it happen or did. I kind of guilty of it, but not losing my cool or whatever. But the biggest thing is you can't take away player agency. If this character is going to kill an NPC, you gotta let it happen. You gotta let the chips fall where it leads. You gotta keep in mind, my type of DMing is evolved. I'm more of a fade into the background, only come in when I'm needed. It's the player's story much as it's me providing the story. So wherever they do in game, all right, you want to kill this NPC that does nothing to you? Guess what? It's gonna be consequences now. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there's bodyguards there to protect it. They didn't see that comes out and lats in down. I would definitely control their emotions a little bit. Maybe it messed up with your story. But yeah.
I think what you said too. If you had let the player build the player agency and you step back, like Jugan said, and think about, well, what else could happen in this scene for me to control the scene? But you lost your cool, so there was no thinking about the scene at that point. And I could see that with your daughter at the table too. Like, what's that?
Well, no. So parental confession. I did not care that it was her, or I didn't care at all that it was her story or it happened to her character. Yeah. I would have freaked out if it happened to if that was somebody else's character. What I cared about was we had played this campaign for a little over 18, 19 months, coming to the end of an almost 2-year-long game. Great stories, great memories, and literally the campaign could end in a fucking PvP battle the session before the end for something that didn't have to happen, and that fucking set me off. Because and definitely there was a part of me that worried, and I talked with the players afterwards. Well, I'll get to that. Sorry, there was a part of me that was worried that it was an intentional action to ruin the campaign by this player. Mm-hmm. So
was it?
Well, we never found out.
They quit.
No. They came back, which led me to my second confessional. I'm going to get to in a second. So no.
Good thing I brought you on, Jugan. He has a lot to confess here.
Oh yeah, no. I am a sinner. I also welcome to the people in the chat. I see two messages, both of which involve me being an asshole, which is 1,000% true. I am an evil DM, and also not a nice person. Thankfully, though, I'm a sociopath, so I lie about it, and nobody really figures it out. It's pretty good.
Yeah, well, I'll just say, I control the emotions, and the character's going to do what they're going to do. And I'm more of a reactive DM, I'll respond to what you do, and then you just got, like, especially the murdering hobos, like, you just can't walk into town and kill an innocent civilian and expect nothing to happen.
Yeah.
People are going to come after you.
Fair. No, it's a fair point and sage advice, Father. I appreciate it. I will say my I will say my Hail Marys, and I will count on the bead of D20s until I've said players going to do what players are going to do 30 times. I will do it. So, but no, we did it. I had the conversation with the players afterwards, the other players, and I'm like I don't know. Like it felt like it might be an intentional thing, and we weren't sure. Then I talked to the player involved, and I'm like, dude, like what the fuck? I go, look, man. My problem isn't that it's like my kid's character or story or anything. It's that, like, it doesn't make sense for the character you've played this whole time, and it doesn't make sense for what's going on, because if this triggers a party fight, like, I'm not going to stop it, and you're not beating the other 5 characters. Like, it's not going to happen because they're all against you. They're all going to kill you. So, like, I don't think you're going to win that. And there's no good ending. Like, if you get killed, then that's a mess. And then if you kill anybody else while they take you down, like, you've guaranteed that there's no way you guys can complete the objective of the entire campaign. So I can't understand as a player and as a character why you'd have done this. And he goes, well, I was tired. I'm like, oh, God, yeah. So I had a hard time with that one. I go, okay. I go, well, I mean, it is what it is. I go, just letting you know, though. Like, we resume next week. It's going to go how it's going to go. Thankfully, because it's impossible to kill anyone in D&D 5th edition, the cleric had, well, permanently. The cleric had Revivify. And it did dampen the resources, though, because it led to characters actually permanently dying in the final battle because that spell was burned up and the component was burned up. So there were less people that lived than could have. But I agree. I should not have lost my shit at the table. That was very un-DM. It was very un-DM-like of me. I shouldn't have done it. I should have just murdered him.
But it kind of brings in the second topic for that.
Okay.
You bring up a good point. Like, we've been talking about character alignments tonight a lot too, and for me, how I also kind of not have that happen when characters do something crazy. Part of my session 0, I tell them, like, character alignments, I really don't care. This is the way I vision it. Characters can change their alignment halfway through the story, or something happens and it changes their views. Like, you may start out like a lawful good, but some crazy crap happens during the campaign and it twists your mind. You may become a Oath of Redemption paladin and something happens and now you're an oath breaker. Who knows? Like, when stuff like that happens in the campaign, well, guess what? There's consequences. If you're a paladin and you go over and kill this NPC that's done nothing to you, guess what? You're breaking your oath, and now you're going to have other paladins from your order coming after you because you broke your oath. I just rat to the players.
And as I was going to say, you seem very involved with your players, and that's the key. I always say that, a DM and player connection is so essential for a good campaign. So that's awesome.
All right, Doctor, you've stalled long enough. In the booth you go.
Yes, I am ready. I've been thinking hard and deep about what my confession would be, but I think, without being specific and giving anything away, my biggest problem, and again, I think Jugan is completely aware of my biggest issue. I am the quaffing DM. I am the DM that'll say something that I should not say, like, oh, the Jack Frost. Oh, I mean, oops.
Yep.
Like, I always quaff and say, like, the bad guy that I'm not supposed to say, or something I'm not supposed to read out loud, or
shame.
I'm so bad at it. I don't know how to, and the worst part is I don't know how to back out after I do something like that. Like,
now, do you have a specific time you did it and it really mucked things up? Give it to me. What's the biggest time you flubbed it like that?
I don't want to say right now.
You need to. That's what look, you're in the booth, man. It's just you, God, and the DMs. You got to say it.
You must confess your sins.
It's right now at the Chronic Explorers. They secretly know who the baddie is because I quaffed like week 2, and then 6 months in, they're like, "Hey, is the bad guy blah blah blah?" And I'm just like, "No, and it's just I feel like such a jerk. Like,
You don't have a backup, BBG in case
I do.
I was like, sure, it's not just a little henchman guy.
And just go with that.
Okay. Look, I've done the same. Especially when I run like Icewind Dale or Center Various, because you get the little cliff notes, and sometimes I'm like with work and Navy and stuff, I don't prepare as much as I should be. But when I'm reading off the paper, I'll read too much where it says it's specifically for the DM, and I'll read it out to them. It's like, and I'll get like halfway through the words, like, "Ooh, I'm not supposed to say that."
That's right.
But yeah, we all, like I said, we're all human. We all make mistakes. I would give my tips is be able to adjust on the fly.
Like you said, have a backup bad guy.
Like, one of my pet peeves for me is it happened recently. Players we play this game enough, and like certain like static stat plots, everybody knows like weaknesses and stuff. I've been able to on the fly change stuff where it doesn't make it overpowering and stuff, and like spell effects might affect it normally does not.
Okay.
Get a legendary actions on the fly or something like that. I've been able to adjust on the fly real quick. Well, revealing a bit bad, like Icewind Dale, the bit bad just officially got revealed, right? Because everybody knows Icewind Dale, right? Ariel's the bit bad of the. Well,
spoilers. Anyone who doesn't know, go ahead.
Yeah, spoilers. If you're going off the module itself, spoilers. But for me, when I picked up the module and wanted to run it, right, I looked at her stat block. She's very underwhelming. Like, my characters could kill her at level 4.
Okay.
So, and I like reading a bunch of lore and stuff, and I was looking at Levistus, the 5th layer of hell archdevil, and I was reading lore and how he got frozen in an iceberg. So the backstory for mine, which I'm fine revealing now because the players know who Levistus is because he showed up, and so there's no stat block for Levistus because he's not meant to be a bit bad.
Right.
So I took Zariel's stat block, twisted it, changed it, and all that. So I have a stat block for Levistus. Well, Levistus was free by Ariel, and now Levistus is the bit bad in my homebrew story. So basically, my Icewind Dale campaign is now completely homebrew. I'm just using the setting at this point. And he showed up, and on the fly, he's super powerful. And thankfully, the group is called Twice Dice because they all died at least once. So, but the way I did him, I hinted at him like visions and stuff, like guy frozen in ice. And the very first guy that they killed from the DM Confessions, or they didn't kill him, they captured him, but he's still coming back, is Shallow, and he is like the warlock, one of the warlock patrons of Levistus. And I dropped when they had him. It's like I kind of used a trope from King Arthur, the Clive Owen one, where it says, "Spill my blood and make this land holy." He basically says, "Spill my blood for Levistus."
All right. No, that's you gave me some great ideas too, talking about it.
All right.
So
I got another one for you. It's not my actual. Well, two things. It's not my actual story, but I was there for it, and the chat has asked, about unintentional railroading of people.
That's going to be my next video too, because I've done it.
Yep. So I have a little story about that. But before I do, for those of you who hang out in the chat, we just popped up a poll. Am I an asshole? I voted yes for myself because it's 1,000% true. So thank you very much, chat. You can burn in hell. But No, so I've played in a bunch of games where that has happened, and the unintentional railroading. I told the story of the orange D20, right? Last week, so Drew, and I heard it. Essentially, I had the story arc where my players are tricked into creating a magic item that the villain's going to steal, right? So, good idea, classic story kind of stuff. A little bit tropey, a good narrative though. It gives them a villain to go after and a thing that we got tricked, ha 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 ha. But thinking about how I set that whole game up, like there wasn't an option. There was nothing my player could have done where I would not have stolen the sword from them after they made it. If he had refused a drink, I would have found some other way to incapacitate him or steal the sword. I didn't have any outs built. It was, you build it, I say you're exhausted, I say you take a drink, I say I say that you are, poisoned, knocked out, and then it gets stolen. So I wasn't planning on doing that. I didn't write it with the intention of not giving the players the ability to, to get the sword back. That was always the intention. But part of my setup, there was no play whatsoever. So if he had refused a drink, if the wizard had hung out with him while he made it, so there was a second character there, I think I would have just rammed it through somehow, some contrivance. So my confession is I didn't plan for my players to have agency. And on the fly, I would have taken it from them. How do I fix that?
I would say, without being, just don't do it. But I
wanted to ask a question though, because I feel like there's a point to an adventure as a game master where you're kind of setting the scene and the mood, and it's not really railroading. So were you like?
I can answer that one. Yeah.
Were you like in the middle of play that this happened? Like that's what I'm trying to understand, because to me it sounds like this was a setup for something. Go ahead, Dugan. You wanted to say something. Go ahead.
So the term railroading gets confused a lot with the term linear.
Mm-hmm.
Like Descent into Avernus is a linear campaign. You have one objective, and there's ways to get to it. You can veer off the tracks a little bit, but you always come back to it. And what he's describing is he had one scenario only. So what he should have done, the fit stat, was have a couple scenarios. Did they have an option to not even make it?
Yeah, no, it kind of, that's what I wrote, and it kind of had to happen.
So I would suggest that maybe, like, if they didn't do it, the bad guy comes in and makes it himself, or something along the lines.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm a very reactive DM. I've learned this in my trials. It's like I've learned to not be so set in stone. If you watch my older campaigns, I'm very set in stone because basically I build a scene. If they don't go to the scene, this whole build, and I had to learn to break myself of that, right?
Yeah.
There's a scene in The Outsiders where they're in the cave. There's another item across the bridge. I had the little NPC cool balls pushing them across the bridge. I was railroading them, forcing them to go over there so they get that one item when they just wanted to go back to town, but I didn't let them go back to town. So I definitely railroaded them into going over to get this one item I know that was there. But they wanted to go back to town, then come back, and I didn't let them do that. That's what's railroading. So I would suggest maybe just make sure you plan in case they didn't want to do it, or give them other options to accomplish your goals.
Build it less linear. Have it built less linear. Then then you wouldn't have the problem. Like if you build it linear, you're going to keep hitting the problem. It sounds like it doesn't matter.
No, fair enough.
And there's nothing wrong with letting something organically happen at the table that makes another outcome too.
Fair enough. Yeah, in the chat, the scenario given was that low level players join an adventuring guild. I've never been a fan of those. They always seem kind of cheesy to me. But that was a big thing with Forgotten Realms, is you get your adventuring compact and you become officially people. But anyways, they were assigned their first couple of jobs, and then the players later complained that they felt like they were railroaded. See, I think my definition of railroading, I've talked about this before, is it's not like sometimes you impact what happens in the game. Sometimes sometimes you cause events to happen. Sometimes events just happen to you. If you're in town and the orcs attack, and you got to deal with that, that's not railroading. That's what happened. What I eventually learned as railroading that I do a good job of avoiding now is how you resolve what's happening around you. That you should be free to do. So to your point, having the sword getting built, having that happen isn't a railroad, and having a linear story for how they, if the trick in the player and how it goes. But it's the individual parts of the scene that need to be built flexible so that the players can impact that. So yeah, like to your point, I should have had it written where, if the player doesn't drink, they have to do this to get the sword from him. If he defeats them, he gets to keep the sword. We'll figure that shit out. We should have been open to those possibilities. Should have written something for it and been prepared. You were 100% correct. Now, I've had the opposite happen. But what were you going to say, Jugan?
I was going to say, also, kind of you touched on it too, or if something they're doing in there you didn't plan for, you had to set goal how the sword is made, and they do something completely opposite. It might fit better for it being made, and you might like that better and allow that to work. And also, if you will watch the very first episode of Order of the Goblet, the campaign starts completely different. I told the players before we even started, all right, you guys are locked up in cages, transported somewhere. Your job is to figure out what the hell happened and how you got locked up. It's kind of railroady, but that's how the campaign starts.
Right. That's what I was saying. At some point, there's a setting that they're set in. And, I often think about a lot of sci-fi shows do that too, where it starts right in the episode already, or Captain Kirk's already on the planet in the midst of something happening. That's how a lot of this, narratives work that way. A lot of times I feel they're stronger that way sometimes too. It's not necessarily railroading, but that's why I was asking you if it happened in the middle, because then it's different.
Yeah. With that, the starting of that Order of the Goblet, I told them before we started session. Now I said, after I do the intro and the kind of the backstory of the campaign, the kind of the setting, I'm going to go to each character. This is not a talky part for you. I'm just describing, because they gave me some cliff notes, some kind of left it open for me to fulfill. I'm going to go through each character and describe how you got caught, what happened. You don't talk, I just describe it, and you get thrown into a cage. After I go through every character, that's when we cut to all y'all in a cage. And I think I've gotten compliments on it, because it forces the party to work together to accomplish a goal early on, and keeps, like you were talking about, inner conflict, like the PvP kind of helps keep that away from the party. Because in that party, there's a character that hates goblins, and Ori is a goblin. Guess what? They're working together to get out of the situation they're in.
Yep.
Continue.
Yeah, no. I started to use some contrived openings to get around that. You meet in a tavern and shit goes sideways right to start. Which, it feels railroady, but also you need to get your game off on a certain footing so that you're good to go. I'm not to bring up something I said I wouldn't talk about, but I can't help myself. On the topic of railroading, my complaints about the Obi-Wan show and the bad writing of it. I never let it go.
Go ahead.
My complaints about is that they railroad the narrative. So the examples I will give, spoilers if you haven't watched it, mute me now. But they want here's the thing. So they need Obi-Wan to escape. So rather than writing a scene that makes sense for how Obi-Wan gets away originally, they just have Reva become incompetent, and then apparently the entire Imperial Navy and the planetary governor and the Sith and the Inquisitors, apparently nobody figures out that they can stop, intercept, or just destroy all the droid transport ships, cargo ships that are droid controlled, because Obi-Wan's going to be on one of them. Just blast them all out of the sky, or send them all back, block the hyperspace routes. They didn't do anything in the writing of it to justify Obi-Wan and little Leia getting away. It just happened because reasons, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a good example of the railroad thing. Like, well, I know you figured out who the bad guy was, and I know you cut him off before they got to the ship they were going to escape on, and I know you were in the right spot, but the boxes fall down and you can't get around them, and they get on the ship, and the ship sails away, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know, that's what a lot of those shows are doing now to get to the points they want to get to, which is railroading the narrative.
I think the linearness of that story comes from the amount of characters in it, and that's what I was saying. If you look at something like Andor, there are a lot more characters in the story, and you can see the actual story. It's telling more than one story.
Yeah, but back to D&D stuff, so I don't bitch about this all night long. And this will be my final confessional, and then we're going to go into the shit that I hate, because we are just about the 3 hour mark, gentlemen, so well done. You can talk almost as much as I do. But
I told you I was going to warn you before we started.
I love it, and I'm not complaining at all. But no, the opposite can happen, and I ran into this, and I legitimately, all hyperbole aside, I don't understand, still have a hard time understanding if I did something wrong as the DM, if it was players trying to kind of submarine the whole scenario for whatever reason. So my final DM confession is I tried to be open-ended and accommodating, to be sandboxy, so the players would have all the agency. And I ran into a scenario that ultimately led to the end of the campaign, where I put out, it had to be half dozen or more plot hooks. Character backstory plot hooks, current event plot hook, and then a recurring villain plot hook. They had killed somebody, they were resurrected by another enemy, and then came back as a revenant. Characters had backstory stuff that we did through session 0, leading up to session 0, where I'm like, all right, well, this is available for you to go take care of if you guys want to. And they're like, nope, we don't want to do that. Okay, well, this recurring villain shows back up. I'm like, oh, we don't want to deal with him. We're gonna ditch him. Like, okay, well, the guy who sent the revenant after you, you find out you know where they're going, and you have a chance to confront them. No, we don't want to do that. Like 6 or 7 or 8 hooks, leads, just nothing. They wanted nothing to do with anything. And I didn't railroad them into anything. I didn't force something to happen to them. I left them for several sessions in a place where they could pick what they wanted to do, and the game just ground to a terrible halt and ended shortly thereafter. So my confession is I didn't save the campaign. I let it kind of die in the vine based on what the players did, or in this case didn't want to do. What should I have done?
I have the perfect answer for you.
Okay. Kill them all? Good answer.
No.
Oh, no, it wasn't murder? Okay, sorry.
No. I have adopted this into the campaign, and it's already playing out in Order to Goblet. Whatever characters write me, I have an idea for, like, depending on what campaign I'm running, the overarching story. Like, for Icewind Dale, right? Doros' character is directly linked to the campaign setting, right? Without him even knowing it to begin with, right? Just like, I kind of had this conversation with Bones anyway, but her character, I won't say too much. I like to link, basically, bottom line is, I like to take what backstories I get from characters. I'll choose one that fits perfectly or close to perfect as much as possible, that wherever they write me or they leave it open for interpretation, I'll tie their backstory directly into the main backstory of the main plot of the campaign I got running, the overall nature. That way, there's always a driving force for the party to follow it, because they think they're following their own backstories, but hence I have tricked them to follow the main plot.
So where you had that sandbox, Merwin, if there was a little more of each character's law, they might have been driven to go to one of those locations.
You don't have to do all characters. You can choose one.
Just one.
And when they decide to follow that, guess what? It's sandboxy. They're still following which way they want to go, but you trick them into thinking they're following their own backstories, but they're actually following the main campaign that you have set up, because they didn't know that you tied their backstory into the campaign.
See, you seemed so nice, but now I realize you're just as evil as the rest of us.
Yeah, like I had, like, this. It helps me out too, so I don't have to do all the work either. One of the characters is written a bit bad for Order of the Goblet, and they just don't know it yet.
I like it. All right, well, let me wrap up this section with first a thank you and a final question for you, Jugan, before I get into the shit that I hate for the week. Where sadly, I think we might have a disagreement coming up, and I relish that.
Though.
But yep,
I will say this, also to help with that, so it doesn't feel railroady for Sambazi. I will say Matt Mercer does this very well, and I've used it all the time, especially now. But if they take a long rest, whatever, open up in the session, I say, what would your characters like to do? And I respond to that way. As long as you start out with that, it doesn't feel railroady, they have a choice. Continue. Sorry.
Sage advice. So let me finish with a question.
Shit you hate.
No, before I get into shit I hate. No, a question. So I've been throwing this out to all the DMs and people we have on the show. I know your DM confessional dealt with the avoiding a TPK, so I might know your answer. But in general, when you are playing, and let's just say it's not for a stream where you have a motivation to keep the story going, just your home game, doesn't matter if people die. Your DM philosophy, do you strive to keep them alive, or fuck it, let them die?
That's ever evolving, because all my games I run is streamed, and the Be In My Game, all the players purchase their own minis. And I always have that weighing in the back of my mind. I've said this in the videos. I will feel, me as a player or as a DM will feel terrible killing off their character, especially early on, after they get their mini. But since I have now covered that in session 0 now I don't hold back. Whatever happens, happens. If your player dies, your player dies. I let them know in session 0 or whatever they sign up, for interviews. It's like, if you buy your mini, just keep in mind, are you okay buying a mini and your character dies a couple sessions in? They say okay, it takes that weight off the back of my mind.
Fair enough. So you paint minis as well. Have you experienced the same curse that I have done before people bought their own? That you would get a mini for them, you'd paint it, it'd be awesome, you'd finally finish it, and they got fucking murdered the second you gave it to them. Every time. Does that happen to you?
No, all my players it's a requirement, because I'm running 4 campaigns. I don't have time to paint everybody's miniature. Yeah. So they make their miniature on Hero Forge. They order it colored and send it to me.
Okay.
So he's not responsible for their miniatures. He's only take care of his monsters.
All right, fair enough. I
like that's a good idea.
And with the promise, at the end of the campaign, or if the character inevitably dies, I mail their character back to them because they did pay for it. I don't keep it unless
it feels like you're holding them hostage. You had the mini they paid for, so like you either comply or you never get this back. I love it.
It's like a little voodoo doll, and you have like control of them.
That's what happened to me for Descendant and Verse when I first started Descendant and Verse. I had younger players that couldn't afford their miniatures. I'll buy your miniature, it's fine. I have a couple miniatures right now that I personally bought for the players, and they never ended up playing. So now I invested in miniatures. Yeah, wasted that money. So I would say that probably be like the only thing I charge for in the game is people, but they still get their mini at the end of the campaign. I don't hold on to it.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you again. Thanks for everybody who's listening.
I had one for him. I had one for him too.
Go
So I noticed your mug says Virginia. Are you located in Virginia?
I'm currently stationed in Virginia now.
All right. So do you know your state's horror movie? We ask everyone if they know their state's horror movie. Do you know what horror movie took place in the state of Virginia? Any guesses? I'm not familiar with this movie at all, so
I Know What You Did Last Summer?
That is not on my list. It might be. I don't know. I have the movie.
I knew it was somewhere over here.
I have the movie Mama. Merwin, do you know the movie Mama?
I believe it's a recent movie where, what's her name? She's in a bunch of stuff now. I can't think of I'll think of the actress's name in a second. But Yeah, she starts like letting the kids hang out at her house and party there, and she's like the adopted mom, and then she turns out to be like a psycho.
Okay. So we've just revealed another state. As
That's the move. That can't be the only one in Virginia, right?
That's the one they have listed on my map.
So here's my confessional. I'm not a big horror fan.
Okay.
Oh, fair enough.
The only horror movies I liked is because it was Paranormal Activity, because
Good one.
You did that.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
That's the only reason I watched them. But I'm not a big horror fan movie.
And when you say campaign-wise too, you don't really go towards that vampire, dark gothic. You'd rather stay fantasy, Dragonlance.
No, I've teased one in the opening campaign of Order the Goblin.
All right.
I gotcha.
There was a certain individual that got out of a black carriage that was completely blacked out, white-skinned. It took something from one of the players, which might come up later.
So you enjoy your horror playing as well. Okay, you're not a horror fan of movies.
I don't, because almost every horror film I go to see, I think is going to be good. It's just terrible.
All right.
Because for me, as a military police and stuff, I approach certain situations. I think about stuff in the back of my head, what I would do in a situation. In movies, kind of like railroading, right? It forces the actors to do something stupid, like run into a graveyard instead of running for the car that's ready for you to get it out. I can't stand stuff like that.
It's like classic horror. It's like, the lights went out. I wonder what happened. Billy, are you in the basement? It's so dark down here. Well, I'll just go down here anyways. All right. Well, hey, thank you for all that. All right, on to the shit that I hate. And I hate to say it, you and I might disagree about this. Right now, Drew, maybe you agree. I stopped. I have a problem with my current thing I hate is not Critical Role itself, although I'm a little sad about the current season. I don't think it's as good as the first two for a bunch of reasons. But
I think
the thing,
episode 2 or campaign 2 is the best one.
It's really good. I'm not gonna. That's a debate for a different show between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But 2 is really, really good. Has some of my favorite characters. But the thing I hate Critical Role at this moment for is their response to the whole OGL thing. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with that. Mm-hmm. But they have kind of a milquetoast response, which, considering that they probably have a significant financial interest in Wizards and whatnot, I understand it. But the part that bothers me, and I put this in our chat, and I'm gonna hang my hat on this here on the internet because I think this is going to be what happens. I dislike that their response is wrapped around giving credence to the nonsense in Wizards' response about their goal with the OGL being to protect diversity, inclusion, and equity in their games and products. I am so sick of hearing that nonsense because, like, if companies are using this shit now as their defense and screen for everything. If they got to raise their prices, it's because of this. If they do something stupid, it's because they were trying. It's because of that. If anything bad happens to them, it's because of this. First of all, I'm tired of hearing it, and it really bothers me that people are going to take their belief in an ideology and use that to ignore the reality. Like, does anybody really believe that Wizards put all of that language in their OGL about getting a perpetual license to take people's stuff and use it forever without having to pay them for it because they were worried that the game wasn't going to be inclusive and open enough to everybody? Like, are they so worried that old school gamers might have a different idea of what they want to have in their campaigns, different struggles, different topics, deal with different things? You know, like, is that such a big concern that they needed to make sure that they could license your content? I get writing language about shutting down shit like that if you really have a problem with it, but to put in there that, oh, by the way, we also can use your stuff for free if we want to, and we put you out of business, but only because you're a racist, like that. Like, do we really believe that? Like, if you don't believe this is a cash grab from Wizards and a gross overreach that puts the third party community at risk of being destroyed, I don't know what you're doing. And the fact that Critical Role, who is the largest presence in the social media world for our hobby, would come out with that milquetoast statement, I can get over. But to put the language in their statement about supporting, that's what they care about is diversity and inclusion for the hobby. It makes me feel real hinky about that, because I worry that they're going to take Wizards' side and ignore the cash grab aspects of it to defend Wizards putting that stuff in their statement. That bothers me. I was really let down. That's what I hate this week. I think Jugan disagrees. Let me hear what you got to say.
I'm going to explain it to you.
Okay.
If you listen to Campaign 3,
yep,
you listen. You can tell Matt Mercer what he's doing. All the gods and stuff. He's weaving all the content out. I think what they're doing is a calculated tactic, right? Mm-hmm. If I was in charge for a day of Critical Role, I would put something similar out, because guess what? At the end of the day, it's a leak. It's not official.
No, it's not a leak, man. The OGL stuff that was leaked was sent with a contract to creators along with an NDA, and a couple people release it. You don't
get one?
We're not big enough.
I'm not big enough here, and plus, I have not created anything to even be a factor for the OGL, so I really don't have a take in it. But the way I look at it, it's like I'm a firm believer until I see something in writing or something that says it's official. I'm not going to put that much stock in it. Yes, it is what they have written is nobody should sign that thing in the first place. What Critical Role and a lot of other companies, I think they're doing, they're setting up to create their own game system to run. And what Critical Role is what their statement was to say, hey, we're not at this. What sounds like, way I read their statement is like, we're not taking any sides as of right now because nothing is official yet. That's how I read it.
I think there were a lot more people at the table, and they were one of the people at the table, and this shit went awry. So that's why they did a milquetoast statement, because the original table deal is probably now altered, and they probably have to sit down again and figure out what they're doing, because I'm sure they're all they're railroading us.
And if they do have a contract with Wizards, they might have certain stuff they can't say. Maybe the stuff they really want to say.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe. They might not be able to say what they really want to say.
All fair points, gentlemen, and I appreciate your feedback. I will say in closing, for the things I hate, though, what bugs me the most about the thing is that you will never convince me that Wizards didn't put that language in their OGL so that they could use it to try to get people on their side because of their social justice stance. That's why we wrote it in there, and I think it's a dirty tactic to use what is a real problem for some people in order to get people on their side for something horrible. It's I
think it did the complete opposite, made it even worse.
Oh, I definitely think they blew up in their face, but like I said, I can just see the dirty little tactics, like them laying the groundwork, and that's what I think. And Wizards already had kind of started this. If you notice in their official response, it's like the third line talks about how we were only doing this to protect the community from for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm like, that's not random. That's like the third thing they wrote on their official statement. They're trying to use it to shield their money grab, and that bothers me because whether it's like we talked about before. There are certainly gatekeepers and bad people in the community. You've had a couple of weirdos. I've had a bunch of weirdos. And people that bring a bunch of, baggage and shit and a bad name. That exists 100%. I get that. Everybody should be against that. But to try to use that as the crutch upon which you steal everyone's content seems a bit disingenuous. That's my opinion on it. But we are long into the show, gentlemen. Jugan, thank you very much for being here. For those of you that have stuck around with us this long, thank you very much. We ask that you like, share, and subscribe to the show. Let your friends know about it. Check us out. We will repost the episode tomorrow at our usual time. So for anybody who missed the live, you can come back in and check out the whole thing on our Facebook page. Join us there. Join us on Discord. Check out our Patreon. Look forward to our next Kickstarter and the rest of our shows that we're going to be releasing in the near future. And I think that's all I got to say about that. Doc, do you want to start the closing statements?
Yeah, I'll start it out. I say, hey, remember, no matter how you start out, you always start out odd, but with effort and creativity, you always roll initiative with the prime advantage. And thanks, Jugan, for like having a leap of faith and just this Dr.Pletorius dude. I'm going to be on a show, so thank you. Merwin?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks everybody for being with us. And like I always say, you play tabletop RPGs because they are limitless. So why listen to conversations that are any different? You guys have a good night, evening, internet. Thank you, Jugan. We'll see you guys next Monday. Assuming I can get out of the show because I clicked the button, it didn't work. There we go. Why is it muted? Worst podcast ever. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.